Oh, Lord. Thank you very much. That's great. Okay. So I'll wait till Andy gets back in the room and then we can discuss. Oh, Bart. Yes. Okay. Andy's back, is he? I presume he can hear us. Yeah. Okay. Andy's back in the room. So we get on to item 97. This is to review the draft budget and amend or approve it. Now, this comes back to the beginning where we agreed the minutes of the meeting. So you have got a draft budget. So this is for 21-22. This is just a proposal as to how monies will be spent. Anybody wish to comment? Excellent. Okay. So if you're generally happy with that one, then do I have to get that approved, Nicola?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Sorry.
Oh, so close.
I thought we, given the staffing committee needs to meet to ratify the discussion on the clerk's salary and hours and all that.
Yep.
Then
Sorry, Anne, can I just clarify there? The staffing committee don't have the authority to ratify this clerk's salary. That has to come back to full council.
Indeed. So we can't approve the budget until that's done.
Well, we're going to have to, because the budget has to be approved prior to. We have to get the precept in by December the 7th. Is it 11th?
11th.
This is
So-
only a draft.
So it could be done in the December meeting, or we don't meet in December, is that right?
Well, it could be done for the December meeting. You're leaving it a bit close to the wire, but we really are only talking about hundreds of pounds rather than thousands. Whichever way to go.
Is it an issue? That figure is either going to be what it is, or it's not, or it's going to be lower. So, as far as the budget's concerned, we surely should be able to agree it now.
Does anybody else have any reservations on that particular item?
Confusing.
Okay.
I think we can change the expenditure after we agree it. This is more about agreeing the precept, is it not?
Yeah, it's a draft. This is basically how we see the monies overall will get spent, which then leads us on to the precepts, because the next item is agreeing the precept. So obviously we come up with a precept based on a budget. So I mean, it is budgets, as we know, chop and change, but at least at the moment they add up, and that's the proposal. Kieran?
Well, I was just saying the same. The next line, which is the maintenance contract, is dependent on something we're about to discuss, but that's in the budget.
Next line.
So the maintenance contracts, there's one on the agenda, which is to roll over the contract for another year. Well, that's the value in there. If we decide not to do that and go somewhere else, then that line potentially could be different. I'm just using it as an example.
Sorry. I'm getting confused because by next line you mean next line on the budget.
Yes.
Yeah, so rather than on the agenda. Yeah, that's fair enough. Yes. Okay. Peter?
I was just going to say, can we mention, if it makes it any easier, can we talk about the precept request?
Well, I think we should really go through it in the right order.
Yeah.
But as I say, I think the budget is a draft budget, and each item may change for a few pounds here and there, but ultimately we get an indication of how we arrived at the figure we arrived at. Laura?
Can the finance committee just give a rationale to why they made the decision about the precepts? Because I know we've discussed before that if we want to do some of the things we wanted to do, we may need to increase the precept, and that was discussed at the last budget and we didn't do it. So I just wanted to see if there was a reason that decision was made.
Well, going slightly off track here, because obviously precept is the next issue.
Oh, is it? Sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
Next item on the agenda. Do you want me to talk about that now?
I don't really know. I'm looking at Nicola here. What do you think?
They're sort of linked, so as long as you have two separate resolutions.
Okay, fine. Yeah.
Right.
Well,
Precept is on the budget.
yeah. Basically, we had a huge increase in precept last year, and we kind of felt that because it was a big increase last year, and because of it being a bad year this year in terms of people's situations, that we should be acting quite responsibly and not go for a big rise again. I think that's fair, isn't it, chaps?
Absolutely, that's what was said. Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, I'm not aware of any
Current situation.
Yeah, current situation. That was the rationale behind it.
Yeah. it would be quite nice for the parish council to show some respect to parishioners who might be having a hard time because of the lockdown and now the second lockdown, and not increase the precept this year, and review it again next year, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that we did hike it a lot, not hike it, we increased it a lot last year for a
Yeah, did we?
particular
I
reason.
can't remember what we increased it by. What was it?
We increased it by
7%, wasn't it?
7%.
7%.
7%, and that was specifically because of the playground. Now,
that was-
obviously,
No, it wasn't.
Maintenance person and the street lighting energy.
Yeah, it was nothing to do with the playground.
okay, whatever. There was a specific reason. Sorry, there was a specific reason. Now, we need to make sure that we were aware that there was a reason for that increase, and not just use that as the next as our datum and start increasing it from that level. So I think that was the thinking. Okay.
So I guess the first thing then on the budget is, are councillors happy at the proposal that there's no increase in the precept?
Yep, I think it
Yes.
makes a sensible thing to do in the current situation. I think I agree.
Actually, Peter, I do apologise, because as the chairman of that meeting, I should really let you take that.
Doesn't matter. I'm just just saying that I think if
Sorry.
you get councillors to agree that the idea of no increase in the precept is correct,
Mhm.
and that's acceptable, then the budget just follows suit, doesn't it? Because it's written to coincide with what spending power there is.
Yeah. Okay. So
I just
based
think
on
we need to bear that in mind when we do the budget and we'll make all the decisions about the finance, don't we? That we're not increasing the precept. So like we discussed last time, we need to cut our cloth to suit, so to speak. So I think we agreed last time not to get the payout for a maintenance person because we couldn't really afford it. So the similar applies, I think, this year.
Okay. Heather, your hand was up, yeah?
Yeah, there's a comment in the supporting documents about S137 monies and whether we need to resolve to move it to a new reserve. I didn't quite understand it.
So
I don't know if it's a resolution or not.
the recommendation is that a council holds the section 137 monies, which are your free resource, which is not free at all, which is calculated by the amount given by the Secretary of State multiplied by the number of electors, and has some really tough restrictions on how it can be spent. I got some advice from Capalc, which said that you don't have to hold this in reserve. So if you want to reallocate this money to a different reserve, for instance, towards your LHI bid, then you have to do so by resolution.
And do we have to name the particular reserve it has to move into at this stage?
Yes, if you want to put it in an earmarked reserve, it has to be named because it's earmarked for a particular purpose.
We considered at the finance group meeting that money would actually, as the parish council has a commitment for £9,000 for the LHI bid, that could possibly be where that money comes from, because it isn't anywhere else.
Can we just reserve it for reserves for special projects rather than reserves for a named thing?
No, an earmarked reserve is for a particular purpose.
And we have made a commitment to that LHI bid, and we need to find £9,000 should it be successful.
That's the key, isn't it? Should it be successful?
How much is the 137 reserve?
Just over 6,000.
Okay.
Off the top of my head.
£7,088.64.
Yeah, just over 7,000. I beg your pardon. Well done,
Sorry.
Peter.
So it's in the supporting documents, isn't it?
It is. It's in your financial accounts.
Haven't we got a SIL due to be paid soon as well? I saw.
I would have to check whether an LHI bid would qualify for SIL, because that has to be an infrastructure project. So whether a TRO application would come under SIL legislation, I'm not sure. I'd have to clarify that.
What's that? Okay. So having discussed all that, are we, it's probably best to say, oh, Peter, are you just...
I was just thinking about this bit about 137. I saw in the supporting documents, it's not on the agenda to just vote on that going into reserve, is it?
No, it's just part of your budget discussions.
Right.
Okay.
Thank
So
you.
if we take them in a slightly different order then, as Peter suggests, if we So we take 98 first, 2198 first, discuss and decide upon the precept request. So the proposal is that we keep the same precept as this year. That's the proposal. Can I have a second of that, please? Peter seconding it. Are we all in favour of that? Can I have a show of hands, please? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All in favour. That's good. Thank you very much. And then moving back to the budget, are we happy that that budget is acceptable, bearing in mind that it does lead us on to the precept? Are we happy that that budget? Okay, I'm going to propose that that is our budget for next year. Can I have a second of that, please, Peter? Seconding. All those in favour? Can I have a show of hands, please? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And Anne, are you with us, or?
Yeah.
You're with us. Okay, so that's unanimous. Thank you very much. That's good. Okay, good. Thank you much for that. Right. Okay, 99, to receive and review the maintenance person's timesheet. Well, this is one I've got a slight interest in. Previously, we've just received things. I don't know whether we need to review it, but you're welcome to review it if you want to, and I'll pretend that I'm in the audience and not say anything.
Thank you for all the hours you're putting in, Graham.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah, thank you.
And it shows.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's just calm it, lads. Okay, thank you much. So,
Something to say.
let's move it on. That's great. That's good. No, fine.
Do you have to resolve to accept it?
The councillor receiving it, then yes, please.
Yeah.
Oh well, then okay. Can I? Okay, I will propose that we receive that timesheet. Can I have a seconder for that, please? Peter seconding it. All in favour? Fine. Good. Okay. Thank you. So that's been received. Right. To receive an update regarding the LHI feasibility study. This.
Sorry, Graham, to interrupt. Do we need to agree the change of procedure on the agenda, that we change the items around when we voted? Do we not need to agree to do that?
I don't know. I don't know.
No, possibly.
We have done it in the past. When
We have done it in the past.
I think the reason why we weren't was because the two things we felt were related. But I mean, if Nicola is happy, then I can propose that we'll backdate it such that we swap. We do 98 first, and then do 97. Would that be okay, Nicola?
Yep, that's fine.
Okay, I'm going to propose that we change the order. The order. Can I have a seconder for that, please? Peter seconding it. All in favour? You better all say yes. Fine. Good. Okay. Good. Formality done. Thank you very much.
All right,
Thanks, Kieran. That's great. that aids the flow. Right. Where was I? This is the LHI feasibility study. Obviously, this is the one from last year.
Yeah.
Basically, you've seen this on the supporting documents. These are various emails that Nicola has had with CCC. I think it's, I don't know when Nicola wants to get involved. Can I bring you in here, Nicola, if you need to be? But basically, we're waiting responses from CCC.
Yeah, so you've had everything that I've sent over to them, and I haven't had a response back yet from Anna.
No.
As you've seen from my email, I think the way forward with this would be actually to meet either Zoom or socially distance within the village, lockdown permitting. But yeah, as I say, I haven't heard anything back yet.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly in their court. I think it's fair to say that things are looking better than when we first started communication, because we've got somebody else in the mix now, and it started off, we weren't too sure who was looking after what. But we've had, if you read the email there, it confirms that not a lot of, so only hours have been spent so far on the report, which implies that there's still some money left in that LHI bid. We just need to discuss if there are options as to how it can be done. So assuming there's in the order of £2,000 plus or minus still available, then that should hopefully play for various CCC hours that could be used in the ways that we have suggested, and we're waiting for them to come back. Anne?
Just a couple of thoughts. I appreciate we've got to wait for some response from Anna and so on, but is there any merit in the meantime in the Hilton Traffic Group, pulling together information. And there's a lot of things happening right now on transport. There's a St Ives transport study that's come up with all sorts of goodies. We've got an HCV Diamond area study, and so on. So there are other things happening around the roads in this area, even to the quarry being proposed at Hemmingford Grey. So I just wonder if it would be helpful for the working group to pull together some of that data to say, or to offer that as information to bounce back and forth with the county council.
Helpful, but I think at the moment we have to wait for them to respond, and obviously we can go back.
I'm trying to inform their response is what I'm thinking, is if we can inform their response, maybe.
Yeah, I'll say we have asked. We're trying to think of ways where they could spend the money on reviewing the traffic, really. So I mean, yes, we can obviously bear that in mind when they respond.
Sounds like a no, Graham. Is that right?
It's a holding response, because I think we only spoke to CCC probably a week and a half ago, 2 weeks perhaps. So it's, I mean, whether they're bound by the same rules as we are, that they need to respond within 15 days, we must be getting close to getting a response. I mean, we can ask Nicola to give them a chase sometime, so before the next meeting we'll know what's happening. And one of the key things that we've got is to know when we have to spend that money by. I mean, really, it's just an update on where we're up to. I'm not particularly looking for additional ideas yet. That's where we're up to, and I say whether we get a response on when the advisory freight route's being confirmed, I don't know.
Are we not trying to encourage them to give us an answer on the LHI rather than throwing other things into the pot, like diamonds and traffic through St Ives and all that sort of thing?
Relevant to that LHI application.
Well, the LHI application is about HGVs on our road, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not about what's happening in St Ives and diamonds. We want a clear answer on what they're going to do for us at this moment in time, don't we?
They're coming from someplace. That's
yeah, but we don't want to start expanding the thing. We want them to concentrate on Hilton.
Of course.
Yeah, I mean, we have given them some specific areas that they might want to spend the money on. So I don't, you know, hopefully that'll they might pick one of those, because let's face it, if the advisory freight route is scrapped, then they could quite easily say, right, it's scrapped, and here's you know, we'll bank your money and move on. So we need to try and get that money to be spent somewhere. I think at the moment it is just an update, so we'll just bear in mind the comments that have been made and move on from there. Now, so discuss and okay, so I think we have received an update regarding the feasibility study. Keeps on there. So I'm going to propose that we receive the update. Kind of a seconder that we've discussed it. Ian, yeah, you're seconding it. All in favour? Can I have a show of hands, please? 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 8. Okay. Against and abstaining and abstaining. Okay, so that's 8-1. Thank you very much. Okay, right. Could discuss and decide upon the Christmas lights for the pavilion. Proposed cost £80. Now, this obviously carries on from the meeting last week. You've had a very comprehensive report, quotations. I think in summary, the point that we have to bear in mind is that the value that the budget for this item is so small that no professional company will be is interested to actually install them. So we're looking at a self build here, and I need to express an interest in that. Sorry, it was my neighbour who is offering to assist with professional help, and obviously I don't know whether, as we're putting it ourselves, whether our COVID rules come into play. Something to consider. But has anyone got any suggestions or way forwards or thoughts? No. Excellent. Heather.
I was going to say, let's buy the lights and get one family to put them up.
Yeah, a bubble. Okay. I would just say that if we go for my neighbour, you'll get better value, but I don't know how complicated it will be. And one of my concerns is that it'll be so good that people might expect it for years to come.
Well,
That's not a bad thing.
if
That's a
he's
good-
not planning to move anywhere, that's fine. He could perhaps do it every year.
Yeah. But then he also gets into the issue that if we bought lots of lights, we'll need to get them pack tested. So it might be that the bill gets quite expensive. But that's a thought. I mean, it's a whether we go for a blast and see how it works, or whether we just go for a string of lights and see how it works. I don't know. Kieran.
Having the electricity supply, I'm reading something here about £150 to install a socket. Is that part of the £200 we have to spend?
No, that's all part of the budget that Nicola's done. Basically, if you were to install an outside socket, that's what it would be. Obviously, it'd be a lot neater to do that, but the current consumer unit is not rated for that sort of thing anyway. So what we're looking at is running an extension lead through the wall, through the soffit somewhere from the internal electrics. Because basically it's an old consumer unit. It hasn't got RCDs or trips, and it's plastic, so its days are numbered, but it's been extended for 5 years from when it was inspected. Okay, Laura.
I was just going to say, I'm just finally getting to the last bit of the proposal. I've missed the bit at the bottom, but if we've got someone that's willing to volunteer to source the lights and do a good job of doing it within our budget, I think we accept that offer, personally.
Yeah, I agree. But I just think actually it's really good that parishioners are offering to do things like this. And actually, I just think, you know, as a parish council, we ought to, you know, say thank you very much and welcome them with open arms to do that. And also because, you know, we're going into lockdown, I think it would just cheer everybody up, wouldn't it? So
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Well, does anyone else wish to say anything? I'm very happy to do that. That'd be great. Keep me in friends with my neighbours. My only concern is that sometimes these things don't work out quite as you expect. For whatever reasons, it's sometimes not always possible to do what you thought you could do as a volunteer. So I would like to propose that we do take up the neighbour's offer, but maybe have a plan B, that if for some reason that can't work, then we go for the string of lights which we just put around the gutter. Because obviously we won't have time to meet before the next meeting. So would that be acceptable, Nicola?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. So the
Can I just check that the lights will belong to us, whatever route we go?
yes, the lights will belong to us. Yes. Yeah, they are being, because the thing is that they have to be new. We have to be responsible for them. They have to be certified or whatever. So I'm getting a.
Sorry, I'm just writing this resolution down, Graham. If not, it's not possible for the parishioner to
provide
the lights.
Yeah.
Which string of lights are you referring to?
I think the recommended is the cluster you recommend, or the proposal was
Cluster.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 36 meter cluster. That's the option B.
29 meter cluster.
To do a 36 meter house, yeah. I know it's in 36 meters somewhere, didn't it?
29.
Yeah, we don't want the back of the pavilion lit up. That's not particularly good. Okay, so that's the proposal, that we thank the parishioner and we get on with it. But if there's a problem, then we go for the simple 29 meter cluster. Can I have a seconder for that, please? Sharon seconding. All in favour? Little wave of hands. Brilliant. Thank you very much. Nicola, can I ask you to send an email saying just to let all know? Thank you much. Okay, right. 21102, discuss the response from insurers regarding the village library and the bus stop and decide next steps. Now, when we discussed it before, we weren't too sure whether our bus stop would be a fire hazard. It's come back, it's okay, but the proviso there is that if it gets vandalized, then they would have to rethink. Now, I think the vandalizing isn't just fire. I think they basically are saying that if it's vandalized, then we obviously have a problem in the village, which might lead to fire. So we shouldn't just bear in mind it's fire. It could be any sort of vandalism. So that's, I think, the only proviso that the insurance company are giving us. Now, there was, when we voted on this before, there was no cost to the council, and very kindly we had an offer from a local book club to look after the shelves. So anybody wish to say anything? Are we happy? Anne?
Question, wasn't there a question about where we get the shelves from?
Yes, there was no cost because we were hoping to stick out an advert and that someone would have an old kitchen unit or something lying around. I think that was the
Okay.
Yeah, so I think the first step would be to advertise that we would like to have a library. We're after a cupboard with shelves with doors that can be put in place, or somebody could make something to go in place, and then see where we get to.
Okay.
Now, obviously things, oh, Rob, sorry.
Where do we get to the COVID situation? Because I know when we discussed this last time, there was a concern about viruses being left on surfaces and having things centrally where people can touch and things wouldn't be deemed appropriate.
Yeah, I think I was just going to mention that point because obviously when we discussed it last month, things weren't as bad as this month. So I'm not too sure whether we get the advert out and put it in storage. I don't know whether we consider that the current situation requires a delay on things.
I think it's going to take at least a month to get the shelves or bookcase or whatever up. So if we start that process, St Ives Library have a system of quarantining their books for 48 hours. We can just put a notice up that says, please take a bag with gloves, keep it in a bag. Sorry, so please take a book in a bag, use gloves, keep it in storage for 48 hours before you actually open it. We can put something in place should we get to that point if COVID's still in lockdown.
So the proposal then is that we put an advert on, is it on Facebook or in Facebook, Nicola? I get in trouble with this. On Facebook. On Facebook. Apparently, it's not really a book. So so on Facebook, if we were to put an advert there rather than the website, do you think it's a bit more local? I think the websites or both.
Emails as well.
Emails. So are we going to go for a blanket?
There's a lot. Yeah.
The lot. Okay.
Yeah.
So are you happy, Nicola, that you know how to phrase the advert or whatever a request for shelves for books?
Yeah.
And then we can see what we get and if it needs adapting or if it's suitable, whatever, or if we put it on the bonfire, depending on what it is. That's a later item. Sorry. So that's a proposal that we put an advert out for bookshelves. Can I have a second?
Sorry, Ron.
Yep.
I was just going to ask whether we ought to, before we publicise anything, whether we ought to send a note to the people who live nearby, just to say this is the proposal.
I think it is in Spectrum, isn't it?
Well, we discussed it at a last meeting. I think you've got a point there that it is nice to be told of these things, but I suppose that the two could go hand in hand, couldn't they? Because let's face it, if there's no cost involved, then if we did get a bookcase and we had an objection from somebody that we agreed with, we're only left with a bookshelf. So I don't think I think hand in hand could be appropriate. Rob, did you put your hand up, or was it Laura?
I was just starting to agree with your proposal. That was all, and then Kieran spoke.
Okay. So I think yes, if we could drop a note to the local people.
Could we do that as two separate resolutions, please?
Yeah, I'm going to have a resolution. Yes, I'm just making sure that we didn't feel that Kieran's comments were going to hold up. I mean, do we feel that the communication with the local residents would prevent us putting the advert out?
No.
Okay, bear that in mind. So the proposal is that we put an advert on our on our social media sites, advertising for suitable shelving for books. Can I have a seconder for that, please? Laura seconding it. All in favour? 1, 2, 3. Rob, and fine. Okay, fine. And then the second proposal is that we contact the neighbours to advise them of what we are currently undertaking. So if I have a proposer for that, I'll propose that we do contact them. All can I have a seconder, please? Heather's seconding it. All in favour? Can I have a, yeah, are we all happy to? Yeah, fine. Okay.
Sorry.
Sharon, are you with us? Yeah, fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Good, thank you. And I presume we're only talking of 3 or 4 houses, just the immediate vicinity. Is that what you're thinking of, Kieran?
Yeah, absolutely, because it's quite close to the zigzag line to the crossing. So if any people are pulling up and parking there, it's just, I think it might be, you know, there's not that many places that have to be right outside 1 or 2 houses if people are driving there. So,
yeah, I must admit, I hadn't even considered driving. I just assumed people would walk past, but you're right. Some people quite rightly drive, not rightly, quite, yes, they would drive. So maybe we do the 3 new houses down there, because obviously you wouldn't be parking the zigzags, you'd be parking lower down, and maybe we could, yeah. Okay, we'll do the adjacent houses, bearing in mind where we think people might park. Whether that includes Scott's Crescent, I don't know. Might be worth just.
No, I think that's a bit, I personally think that's a bit excessive, because you're not going to get, you know, you're not going to get 10 cars a day pulling up and parking there, are you? And the, you know.
I was just thinking that the house is right next to it.
Okay.
It's mainly.
I like to think you wouldn't get any cars, really. Most people surely would walk there.
It's
There's not exactly lots of parking.
It's mainly going to be, you know, the school bus mums in the morning, and maybe, you know, more residents who are at home during the day who can walk there anyway. So I think it's probably a bit excessive to go through Scott's Crescent, because it's
okay. Well, that's, as long as we do inform the neighbours, then they'll know what's happening.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Are you okay there, Nicola?
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So moving on. Okay. To receive the report from the A428 forum meeting. Now, this was a virtual meeting that I attended some time ago, obviously after the last meeting, but so there's a report that I submitted. I might need to bring in Peter here with his experience, because the thing with the 428 is it seems to be going the way of the A14. I think the A14 was quite a new baby. It followed a new system, and the 428 is following that same system. So I'm wondering if we can use the experience that we gained on the A14. I think we have to bear in mind that although it's, guess, 3 miles from us, perhaps, I think there could be some implications. I've mentioned about the lorries coming to the village. When I was following a lorry recently, you get to the 428 and you think, well, there'll be ages getting onto the 428. If you've got 2 roundabouts, it makes it a lot easier. So whether any lorries are not coming through the 1040 because of the difficulty getting out at Elderslie, and it will now make it easier, I don't really know. So I think there are some considerations for this new road. So it comes down to the business about getting ourselves registered as an interested party, Peter.
Yeah, definitely, because then you make in your note, you make a comment that you could go as a non-registered party, and the chair of the meeting might let you talk, but if you're registered and you say that you wish to talk at a meeting, then they have to allow you to talk at the meeting. And it worked well last time. Went to lots of the meetings, and we spoke at various points, and tried to put across the village views. So yeah, we should, and that'll come out when they start announcing how the development consent order is going to go, and when the planning inspectorate announce when they're going to start their process.
Last time, was the notification as to when to register, was that clear? Did that come out to us, or did we have to sort of like find
I think we were more in the loop, because of course Highways were talking to us about what the thing with the A14. So I'll have a look back in some of my old papers and emails to see what point we were notified when we'd need to register.
Right. Okay. And when it comes to the show, will all the papers be available for us to look at? Because one of the things that they keep saying is about the fact lorries come through Hilton, they'll have an alternative plan. Would we need to take it in there?
Well, we had all that stuff come to the village hall, didn't we? They brought in all the paperwork and that, and it was available at the library as well, was it? And at Huntingdon District Council. But I think we could probably be able to talk to Highways and ask them specifically for information regarding that part. And when the DCO was eventually published, the bits about construction traffic were included in that DCO.
Yes.
Eventually. Yes. So it was in there, but there's no harm in asking to be kept in the loop.
Yeah. Well, they do seem, this is the second forum that we've been invited to, so they are keeping us informed. And the other thing is that all the meetings, I think I said in the report, all the meetings will be virtual, so it's nice and easy to attend. And so yeah, I think that's okay. Does anybody else have any thoughts about how the 4 to 8 could affect us, or watch out for, or just generally keep our fingers on the pulse and see if anything pops up? Yeah. Okay, fair enough. So
I was advised that it's been put back a year.
Yeah, they're still, I don't know what you mean by, well, I do know what you mean by back. I don't know what the original plan was. I've got the impression, strong impression, that they hope to get it approved by end of 21.
Yeah.
And 4 years.
Some people who were living next to us advised me that it'd all been delayed by a year, being put back by a year.
We don't know what I can't remember what the original plan was, whether the original plan was to get it finished by now, which could well have been. I say that we're looking at the end of 21 for approval. And 4 years to build it. So 25 is when it's completed. So.
Oh, okay.
So I think that's the numbers that we were given last week, or the numbers, the outline dates. Okay. So I'm going to propose that we receive that forum and keep our finger on the pulse. Can I have a seconder, please, for that? Who's going to second that? Oh, Peter, I think you were starting first. Are we all in favour of that? Just to receive the reports? You all seen it? Fine. Thank you very much. That's good. Moving on, this is to discuss the quarry at Hemmingford Grey and decide upon any actions. And this sort of, I'm going to credit Nicola with this. Just found this on the Fensanton website, and a bit more digging. Sorry, every pun intended. More came to light. And so we are now with a situation that this quarry just off Marsh Lane will be opening soon. I haven't checked, but apparently they're now installing the equipment that they need to start manufacture or start digging. We don't know when the lorries will start rumbling, but that's what's happening local to us. And you'll see in what I've written various thoughts about what we could do, but obviously there's other thoughts that you may have. Discuss.
I think what you're suggesting is to write to Tarmac and, as you point out, asking them very politely for cooperation and consideration. I think that's all we can do at this stage.
Yeah, I think that will be my approach. It's a question of whether we do the other stuff around it, because it was quite clear from the information that they have to come out of Marsh Lane and turn right, away from St Ives. Yeah. No detail in that piece of paper we got as to what they do once they turn right. So I was going to suggest that our clerk could perhaps, presumably Cambridge Waste would have come up with an overall plan as traffic movements, and they should have laid down what's happening.
So, but we need to know where the lorries are likely to be going, don't we?
Well, sorry, Heather, carry on. Yeah, far away.
I was just going to ask who made the decision that the lorries had to turn right, because that's a really powerful decision to have made. It would be useful to know who that was so that we could piggyback onto their rationale. And then, as I think Anne was going to say, then to use the A1307 would be the second part of that, so they don't come through Hilton.
From the HCV committee that I've been on, those things about the routing plans are part of the planning approval. And I think Cambridgeshire County Council agree the routing plans with these companies, with in terms of which way to turn out of places and things like that. So that would have been, I think, part of their planning approval. But I don't quite know the history of this. If this isn't a new planning thing, is it? No. It's just been approved. It's just something that's started up again, but.
Yeah, I mean, it's slightly strange that it relates from 1995, and yet it's been given a license that we didn't know anything about 25 years later to restart. I mean, I think it's quite, what's the word, incredible. that there's no I appreciate that it may have been approved back in the year, but I would have thought there would have been some requirement that at least consultation would have been required.
And of course, if the route was included, sorry, if the route was improved then, or approved, the Papworth bypass wouldn't have been in existence.
No, and of course the new A14. So things have changed. So yeah,
could we not request maybe that Cambridgeshire County Council review the routing plan again for this quarry reopening? And
I think it would be waste, wouldn't it? Cambridge, you had to.
Waste and Minerals Planning Authority.
Yes, that would be the one that we would need to check up on.
Yeah, and also what they had in mind when they'd suggested that lorries turned right onto London Road. You know, what was the rest of the journey supposed to be like?
Well, I think, yeah, it's, well, obviously I can't be sure, but it would imply it's to keep out St Ives. But as you say, how much more detail into, and I think it's also interesting, why are they opening it now? Is there a particular project that they're working on, and where is that project? I mean, it may be that they are destined for somewhere east or west, which would be quite nice. And maybe it's nice it's going to be extracted now rather than for the 428. But I don't know.
So we need to ask those questions. Really?
Yes.
It does say that the Cambridgeshire County Council granted consent in August 2019 for the last phase. So I'm surprised that there wasn't a consultation then, even though you're saying it's from 1995. It seems.
Yeah, odd. That planning reference H60655. That's a current Cambridgeshire County Council planning. So a lot of that information will be found on their website, I'm sure.
Good point. Yeah.
I haven't got a registration for Cambridge County Council. I'm surprised it's not HDC, but I guess that might just be across the border.
Well, I think it's because it's minerals, isn't it? I think it comes under a different umbrella.
Oh, right, okay.
So yes, it comes under Cambridgeshire rather than HDC. But I think it's quite incredible that we find out by accident, effectively. But so the other thing is whether we moan at anybody or whether we just do what we can to find out what we can.
Well, I think Anne's point is where do the lorries go? That's the big deal, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just that they're all going to go to a processing place somewhere, and if
Yes.
that's down the D-Trunk Road, then that's great.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, because it's not a big source of sand and gravel, so I imagine it has a specific purpose rather than just supply thing. It's much less than most of the sand and gravel pits around, so maybe it has a designated destination, but let's try and find out.
And also the incoming lorries, because an empty lorry makes just as much noise as a full lorry.
And it goes a bit faster.
Yes. Yeah, sure. So I've put down there three proposals. I think number 2, perhaps we can extend to get more information about where the traffic is going, because we're talking, my number 2 there was talking about vehicle movements and restrictions or whatever. I'm just trying to make it actions on our dear clerk to do. So therefore we would need to find out where if there is a particular destination for this quarry, and therefore it depends whether we actually write to Tarmac and ask them to be considerate if everything is going somewhere else.
Well, why don't we look up the planning reference and see if we can find out a bit more as to what was intended or is intended. And on that basis, we can write to Tarmac and potentially the CCC or Waste Management and Minerals and whatever committee.
Yes. Okay. Well, I mean, just looking at Nicola, is there, if I made a resolution there for the clerk to get more details, is that possible?
Yeah. Do you want to tack on if they're supposed to be going through the village, or if they're not prohibited from going through the village, do you want me to write to Tarmac, or do you want to wait until after the next meeting?
I would prefer to wait for the next meeting in case there's something more, because as I understand it, they're not looking to move these lorries until 2020. That's just a suggestion there, but what about everybody else? Do you want to make a
It's just 2020 now.
one.
It says that the extraction is expected to start sometime before the end of October on here, or
Yes.
not expected to start before the end of October. So
I saw spring 21.
Yeah, I think
oh, there's
20.
lots of different
October
information.
20th, I think is the installing of the equipment.
Oh yeah, spring 21. I see.
I mean, there is time. It's a question of whether we give a sort of a step by step, or whether we just ask Nicola to find more information and then bring that back to council and we can discuss the next stage. And while you think of that, it's a question of also whether we want to moan at the Cambridgeshire's waste disposal, or the minerals, whether we want to moan about how this license was issued without consultation, or just inquire, because it
My
could be.
feeling would be to do everything all at once so that we can then have an informed discussion at the next meeting to take it forward in any way we think fit.
Here, here.
Are you suggesting we also write to Tarmac, even though they may not be coming through the village?
I think we can write to Tarmac and ask them how they are approaching and leaving the new site.
Yep.
Okay. General sort of approval. Ian, are you just scratching your head, or you?
Well, I'm just wondering whether we're reading this turn right business correctly. It's appreciated that they will turn right out of the site towards London Road. Now, that means they're not going to go along Marsh Lane into Hemmingford Grey.
Is London Road? I think London Road is the 1096. I don't
Yeah.
think.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I
Yes.
think Ian's right there, actually. It does say towards, so it might be that they're not going through Hemmingford and they're going out the other way.
That's right.
It doesn't say left onto London Road, does it?
No, it doesn't.
It's towards London Road, so we're coming, I'm guessing, from Marsh Lane that way up to
That's
London
right.
Road, aren't
Yes,
they?
they're
Which
coming
is
out
a
of.
nightmare of a junction for them to turn
Yes.
right at, unless they go
Yeah.
left into St Ives,
Yes,
which they could
that's my
do.
understanding.
But I seem to recall that London Road is the 1096, whatever, 1040. I don't know
Yep,
where it changes.
1096, yeah.
Yeah, so they come out of that, and then they have to turn right towards the 1307.
No,
Well,
they don't.
it doesn't say
No.
that exactly now.
No. It just says they turn right towards London Road.
Out of the site, so just out of where they, literally out of the site, they turn right.
Now we've got two supporting documents there, haven't we? One is from Hemmingford and one is from Fenstanton. Are we reading?
I'm reading Marsh Lane PDF.
Is that Fenstanton one?
Hemmingford,
Okay.
I think.
2021-104.
Correct.
So it's on Marsh Lane, isn't it? And they're turning
Yep.
right towards
London Road.
London Road from Marsh Lane. So they'll be coming out of the junction just before St Ives if you come out this way. And it doesn't
That's
say
right.
where they're going from there.
No,
No,
you're right.
all it says is it's appreciated that the junction onto London Road can be very busy at peak times. Hauliers visiting the site will be advised as to the consideration expected of drivers to other road users in the vicinity of the quarry. And as you say, it's not the wisest move to come out of there with a fully loaded aggregate lorry and turn right onto London Road from Marsh Lane.
Yes. Yeah, I probably you're right. So they can turn left or right, can't they?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So the proposal, therefore, is that we ask Cambridge County Council if we should have been consulted. Can I have that as a? I propose that one. Can I have a seconder for that one, please? Heather seconding it. All in favour?
Yeah.
Okay, Ian, Robert, are you happy or? Yeah. Okay. So all in favour that will nicely just ask why we weren't consulted, whether that was an omission, and then we'll go for number 2, where Nicola can find more information about the traffic flows and things and the planning application. And then we'll start the process of actually dealing direct with Tarmac, because I think there's a couple of names mentioned, aren't there? There's Tarmac and another company.
Yeah.
So again, I'll ask Nicola to start communication with them to find out what their plans are. So are we okay with number 2? Where
Yep.
Nicola?
Sorry, I'm requesting more information on the planning application and talking to Tarmac separately.
I believe that was, well, let's take it a step at a time. So number 2 is to get more information in whatever way you can about traffic movements. That's the object of it. where it's going to and what the traffic movements are. So that's proposal number 2. Can I have a seconder for that one, please? Yeah, Heather seconding. All in favour? Are we all in favour of that one? Brilliant. Thank you much. Okay. And then number 3. Are you okay, Nicola? Just rushing you there.
Yeah, I'm writing. I'm with you.
Okay, so number 3 is to start communication with Tarmac or whoever the actual operating company is to with a view to getting their cooperation if they intend to come through Hilton.
Well, so it's actually to ask them their routing, isn't it, both in and out of the site?
Indeed, indeed. Okay. So can I have a seconder? That's proposal. Seconder for that one, please. Okay, Heather seconding. All in favour? Laurie happy? Yeah. Rob, you happy? Yeah. Rob,
abstain.
Yeah. Okay. So Rob's abstaining for number 3. Okay. So we got an 8-1. Brilliant. Okay. Thank you very much. Let's move on. Right. Okay. Nets. This is a nice one. 105. Discuss and decide upon the consultation from the National Air Traffic Control and London Luton Airport regarding the changes to arrival routes at London Luton Airport. Now, rather than going through it all, have you all seen that and generally understand it? Obviously, they're splitting up the two. There's one holding area at the moment for both airports. Hopefully, when things get back to normal, it will make things smoother and more safe and whatever. If we have 2 holding routes, holding areas, and one of them will be over St Ives and Huntingdon, possibly affecting us. Now, there's a nice long consultation process which ends in February or March. February. Okay. So really, we just need to be aware of this. I would ask any pilots that you know or any air traffic controllers that you know as to what effect we have of a plane at 8,000 feet that's actually cruising down to Luton. I don't know. Obviously, takeoff's a lot more noisy than coming down back into land. But also, I think the other point to bear in mind is that there is a virtual meeting on the 3rd of December, I believe. If you've seen that on your sporting documents.
Yeah. 3rd of December, 10 till 11.
Yes. So there's there are 3 meetings. We obviously missed the first one. I think the 3rd one will be too late for our if we can get somebody to that meeting in December, then we could discuss it at our December meeting, which would be fine. And I think we could probably even have time to come back to our February meeting if we can't decide in December. So that's my proposal. Does anyone else wish to sort of have a chat about it? Peter.
So Nats came up a few years ago. I've been desperately trying to find something.
2008.
2008 was it?
Yeah, I've got all the papers that came out at that time.
And it just disappeared, didn't it?
It did. I don't think there was a full consultation by a long, long way.
No, it got withdrawn. The proposal of putting the routing in was withdrawn. Now, 2008 is probably too far back. I don't know, Nicola, whether we've got any records, because the parish council would have sent something in, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I remember it. Actually, I remember the meeting, and I think they pretty much it was discussed, and the impact was deemed to be minimal for us. In fact, it would be barely noticeable.
Yeah.
But I think an objection was raised because it was felt that it was a bit hard on Hilton having the new A14 being built and then to have aircraft flying over.
Really?
Yeah. That's my recollection.
Yeah,
I don't know if they did.
I remember something like that. But I don't know whether we actually ever said anything.
No, I don't know. And of course, the minutes I've got don't necessarily go back to 2008.
I don't think it was that long ago, because I remember those discussions.
It was. I looked at the file last week.
Oh, we must have had something more recently about it as well then, because we definitely discussed it since I've been on the council.
Sure.
I don't recall it being a holding area. I remember it just being a route change, that they were coming in across us and then down.
No, I think it's a holding area. I remember seeing a map like this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There were maps.
Around circles.
Yeah.
I do have a couple of letters from 2008 that were written.
By the parish council?
I've got a draft letter. I'd have to dig further to find the actual letter that was sent. But yes, there was a letter sent from the parish council to the county council with regard to it, and a letter received from Jonathan Ginogly regarding it as well.
Okay. Heather?
So when I put my postcode into the consultation, it said negative change, effects likely to be noticeable. And when I researched 8,000 feet, it's like being in an office and having the background noise of an office the whole time. So that's the sort of level we're talking about. I would suggest that we make parishioners aware, and not just the parish council right, but as many people as possible right, to place their objections.
Good point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's just stall on that one until we've had, I would suggest, further information from the meeting. But so I would bear it in mind. Obviously, it will come up on, if we make sure that this is in spectrum, Nicola, in part of your report. If we particularly put this item in, then it will get to a wider audience. But I mean, are we okay if I ask for a volunteer to be available for the virtual meeting on the 3rd of December? And someone put the name forward and then a backup, perhaps. Peter, you putting your name forward?
Yeah, I'm happy to do it.
Thank you much. Do you want a stand-in? Do you think you're going to be able to make it? Or, well, I'll tell you what, if you can't make it, let us know as soon as you can.
Yes.
But
yes, because I'm sure we'll be out. Will we out of lockdown on the 3rd of December?
Correct.
We'll be celebrating, won't we?
Yeah, we'll be running around the village going,
yeah,
or we'll be locked down further.
You won't be in a fit state to attend the meeting. Good job. Yeah. So if you could keep an eye on that, please.
Yeah, I'll be delighted.
Next meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And then we can decide how we take it from there. I don't know whether we need to contact St Ives and Co, because obviously they're going to be more effective than we are, but I suspect that might be a bit more awkward. But let's just take it stage of time. Let's just get some more information from this meeting.
Well, it was on the BBC, the ITV News, and it was in the local papers. So I think people know about it.
They do. I had someone comment last week. The other thing that's worthwhile just bearing in mind is that in 2008, the hold pattern was over Hilton, whereas the hold pattern proposed now is west of Huntingdon.
Yes, it's not actually. It's the flights into, isn't it? We wouldn't get the circling. It's the flights into, I believe, to the area.
Yes, but they're coming from all over the place.
Yes. Do we have any compassion towards these people, that they are obviously there's safety in mind, and that it could be advantageous for the economy of the area?
Better for the environment if there were less aeroplanes.
Yes.
Yeah, but I don't think. Yeah.
If we accept that there is a loading of airplanes, I would far rather have 2 holding patterns than have 1, which would concentrate the pollution. And currently we have 1 pattern.
Yeah, I think you're right there personally, but that's one for later. That's yeah, okay. And also, it's going to be a long time before. Well, yeah, it's obviously in the cards, and it's not the first one that's been mentioned, so it's obviously just bubbling under the surface, isn't it? Okay, so the action on that, a proposal is that we ask Peter to attend a virtual meeting on our behalf. Can I have a seconder for that, please? Ian seconding. Are we all in favour? Laura seconding. Brilliant. Thank you much. That's good. Right. Okay. Moving on to Christmas. Discuss and sign upon a request for approval for the Rotary Club of St Ives for their Santa sleigh rounds. Now, even in non-COVID times, we don't normally get a request, but maybe it's because of COVID that they're reassuring us that they're just going to be dragging the sleigh round and not knocking on doors. Is that correct, Nicola?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, discuss. I don't think there's anything controversial in it, unless I've missed it. Peter?
In their guidelines, they're saying they're following the rule of 6, which is now no longer in place. They are talking about coming to Hilton on the 17th of December. So while I didn't have a problem with what they were proposing, it would be, I think we'd need to say to them, yeah, we're happy, but that's subject to whatever restrictions are in place at that time. Yes. Because if the current restrictions are in place at that time, they can't come.
Yeah.
They
can't do it.
But they won't.
No. Okay. I mean, is it worth adding that point? I mean, or do we just, is it so obvious that they won't come that we don't need to really add it?
There's no point getting wound up about it. used
No,
to
I'm
get
not getting
involved-
wound up about it. I
Well,
just
no.
thought that these proposals were put in before the current lockdown.
Yeah.
That was all.
Yeah, but I mean, I was involved in organising the Round Table Carol Float for many years, and we were very considerate and taking account of what was happening. You've got to.
Yeah.
Otherwise
Yeah.
you'll get a ton of bricks on you. So they will be as white as white, I can assure you.
So the response we send is just fine or no response? Do we have to send a response, Nicola? Are they asking for a...
They are asking for a response.
I think
So
out of courtesy we should.
they respond.
One thing I did think looking at all their documents was that they are going to come put collection buckets. I think they're going to put them on the street and then stand away. And if anyone wants to give donations, but they've also got a GoFundMe site people can donate online. I wondered if it's worth saying that we would inform villagers of that GoFundMe site so that people could donate online in the village, so that we're making the village aware of that, because it might not be obvious to people. So I think that would be a nice thing to do to appreciate them coming to the village.
Yeah,
I agree.
Is
I think
that
it'd be good
going-
to it'd also advertise that they're coming as well, and make people aware that they can contribute with a funding page. Would be quite a good thing to do, I think.
Is it worth putting a proviso there that if they attend, or I mean,
But I think we just say they're planning to now, aren't they? That's their plan. It's the 17th, which should be after the lockdown.
okay. So
COVID permitting.
yeah, okay. So the proposal is that we say thanks so much. Look forward to seeing you. Can I have a seconder for that, please? Ian seconding. All in favour? Are we all in favour? Heather, are you in favour?
Oh, yes.
You are, yeah. Good, that's fine. So all in favour. And then the second proposal is that we put an advert on our social systems suggesting that there are, advising that there are charity boxes, or there's a means of funding. Yeah. That's the proposal there. Can I have a seconder for that one, please? Laura's seconding. All in favour? Show of hands. Brilliant. Okay, thank you much. That's good. Right, moving on to the Royal British Legion. This is, in previous years we've given £60 towards the wreath. Regrettably, that's fallen foul. Well, the wreath hasn't, but the service that was proposed for Sunday has had to be cancelled. But obviously the request is still there. So we've given £60 in the previous years. That more than pays for the wreath. So I'm proposing that we donate £60 to the British Legion. Does anyone wish to discuss, or can I have a seconder for that? Sharon, are you seconding or discussing?
Second, yeah, I'll second that.
Fine. Okay. Is that all in favour then of that motion that we donate £60? Rob, Anne, and then you with us? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you much. That's good. So that's 9 of us, unanimous. Thank you much. Right. Discuss decide upon the request for funding from Finding Fitness for a sports holiday club for children. Now, this is, as I read this, they are looking for total sponsorship or funding for a particular week-long club at a venue not here. Awful lot of money. I don't know whether you want to discuss it or whether you just say we haven't got the finances and it's not something that we normally give to, or I don't know whether you what's a discussion topic. Heather?
We haven't got the finances. It's not something we normally give to proposal.
Okay. Anybody else wish to say comment on that? No. Okay. So the proposal is that we reject it or give them a nice we can't do it. So can I have a seconder for that, please? Heather, you happen to second that? Oh, sorry, Rob, you were seconding. All in favour that we reject it? Can I have a fine. Okay. Thank you much. That's good. So if you wouldn't mind sending back a note, Nicola, to Finding Fitness, that'd be great. Yeah. Okay. Right. 109. Another policy document. You've seen the draft. Hopefully, this is to approve and adopt the training development policy. I don't think there are many more policies to come on, Nicola. We think we've got quite a few policies now. This is
Depends how my Silka training goes, because it keeps popping up.
we must be doing pretty well compared to most councils. All sorts of policies. Luckily, most of them we don't actually need. So, but we have them in our back pocket if we ever had the requirement. So as we discussed, the policy group discussed it, Anne couldn't make it, but she did give us some comments in red, which I think we took on board. In fact, I know we took on board, whether we took them all, I don't know, but we did certainly raise them. Has anyone got any comments with that policy? Training and development. Good. Okay. Can I have a second that we approve that? Okay. Heather's seconding it. All in favour of that policy on our books?
Did you actually make the changes? I couldn't see them.
Help me out here, people. I think we took on board most of them. There was, I think we did on the training. I think we didn't take, we had an issue with your wording. We had activate. We didn't like activate. We initiated. I think that
Which one are you talking about?
That's the lone working policy, I believe.
Okay, well, this one's the training and development.
Indeed.
So, okay,
We took certainly took some of the words into consideration, Anne.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
I just don't know why I can't see it. Anyway, no worries. Okay.
Okay, so that was a proposal. Heather seconded it. Are we all in favour?
Sorry,
Okay.
I'm abstaining because I haven't read it and I'm too tired to take it in right now. Sorry.
Okay, as long as I've got clarification. So are we all in favour apart from Laura? That's an 8-1 and Laura's abstaining.
Sorry, Rob, I didn't see your hand. Sorry, thank you.
Okay. Great. Okay, thank you much. Now moving on to 1110. This is to approve and adopt the lone working policy. This has been raised specifically for me so that if I can manage my mobile phone, if it's charged up, if it's not on low power mode, I can contact Heather. I can contact Nicola.
It won't just be you, it'll be Nicola as well, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I use it if I'm putting the agendas on the board.
But she's
But
also
actually this will cover you doing any work at home, surely. That's technically lone working.
Yeah, most clerks consider if they're working at home, then that doesn't consider lone working. Yet technically, if I was carrying council files down the stairs and happened to fall and I was on my own, but I could easily have done that with a washing basket.
True.
Files.
Crazy.
So that's, yeah, it's a loan policy document. I mean, we have to, well, it's there. Like many of these things, they are due to, well, they can be reviewed and amended, but it's much easier to amend something that you got rather than start from scratch. So if we're all happy with the basics of that one, let's approve it. So I'm going to propose that policy. So,
just one point of clarification on 3, the last bullet. Under lone worker guidance, it says try to avoid entering unattended sites or premises. I didn't quite understand that. If you're lone working, then you're going to be entering unattended sites, aren't you?
I think that what that means is that you can be a lone worker, but you're going into a site where others are working. For instance, you know, you might be going into a different company. I mean, a lone worker means that you're not going to have any colleagues, but it doesn't mean that there couldn't be other people working there.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I could propose that. Can I have a seconder for that policy, please? Oh, Ian, Vinsley, yep. All in favour? We're all happy? Brilliant. Okay, thank you much. That's good. Right. Oh, it's time for rest now. Green open spaces. Can I pass this on to our park keeper? Or whatever your official title is, Ian. Are you going to happy to take this one on?
Yes,
as our green officer?
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you very much.
I better get myself in order, hadn't I?
Well, that's fine.
Right. One or two things here. Hopefully you've read the documents that accompany this. So this is coming out of our Green Open Spaces meeting. The first is the maintenance contract. We've had an offer from the current contractor that he would be prepared to extend his contract for 1 year and 1 year only. So he's looking towards hanging up his mower in 12 months' time. And he would be prepared to carry on at the same rate that was originally negotiated in 2016. So that's the first item there. We obviously are aware that one or two things have changed since 2016, particularly the playground area. So Kieran and I would meet with him and just talk through what was necessary there that perhaps wasn't 4 years ago. So that was the only additional item there that we'd thought of. So any questions?
Sorry,
Yes.
Ian, could I just bring up the maintenance around the benches and the picnic tables as well, because they need sort of regular strimming underneath and around the legs, and it's often just mowed and not trimmed. So I know in the summer there was sort of long grass underneath the benches, so that's something new that needs to be added as well. And this might be being a bit pedantic, but is there any guidance to John as to when he does the mowing? Because he happens to mow every Sunday, and I'm not really sure. Well, and also on the Saturday when the guys were doing the pollarding, he was trying to mow the churchyard, which you know, he was obviously clearing up some debris as well, which that was fine, but it just seems like he mows every weekend. Are you aware of that?
I'm aware of that, and quite often it's because the cut is due and the forecast for the beginning of the following week isn't too bright. So he will occasionally mow on a Sunday in that situation. So
right.
it's I don't believe it's an intention. You know, it's not a plan of his to do that.
Oh no, it's just that you know, people are restricted with bonfires and things on a Sunday, and you know, I'm just thinking of people who work a week and then want some peace and quiet at weekend. So no, it's fine. I just wondered if there was any recommendation that he does most of the mowing in the week.
He will.
I mean, do you have a good relationship that you could sort of discuss tweaks? I mean, obviously he's offering to do the contract the same as in previous years, but I mean, you see the scope for a bit here and there?
I'm sure there is.
Okay.
It's a two-way process, really.
I mean, are you wanting a decision tonight, or can we go away and think about it, or is he? How much notice does he need to carry on?
I think it would be nice to have a decision tonight. I'd certainly hope that would be the case. You know, if the meeting feels they would rather put it to December, then go along with that. But from my point of view, I see no reason to not agree it tonight.
Just add to that, if we don't agree it tonight, and then we subsequently decide later that we don't want to do this, it gives us very little time to react.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
When does the year run from?
April.
So we're talking about April 21 to April 22.
Correct.
Okay. Any more questions of Ian? Are we generally happy? Maybe we could, as things go along, we can obviously talk to Ian and see how things go. Just make sure that the bits and pieces are being done. That'd be good. Okay. So the proposal there is that we ask the current contractor to continue for one more year. Can I have a seconder, please? Do a seconding. Yeah. Okay. All in favour? Raise hands. Rob, are you happy? Yeah. Brilliant. Okay. Thank you much.
Thank you.
That's good. Yeah.
So the next item was possibility of a small copse, and within supporting documents there's a map there. Hopefully that all made sense. So this was near the gate through into the wilderness. So it would be a copse on the corner of the field that has the cricket field in it. One of the thoughts we had, which I actually put in the script that goes with it, is possibly to have a range of species in that area, but including some of the taller, more dominant species that we have in other parts of the village. So that would be oak, beech probably, possibly ash, but also to have some smaller species, perhaps field maple, hazel, and to plant that up, but with a definite maintenance policy that as it matures, some of those smaller species are actually cut out to leave the larger, more dominant species. And I'm thinking really of perhaps 10, 15, 20 years down the line. So that was, I was hoping to have spoken to the Woodland Trust to see if we could have any help with supplying trees, but I haven't managed to do that yet. Other things have taken priority. But that's the principle that we were looking at this stage. What I would hope to be able to do is to come back at the December meeting with a more definite proposal in terms of numbers of trees and costs. Okay. So it's really the principle of establishing a copse in that area that I'm looking to get approval for tonight. Yes, Sharon.
Sorry, can I just clarify where it is? So where the litter bin is, you're looking at sort of that area towards the cricket pitch?
That's right. So a triangle into that corner.
Right.
So there's currently a large oak out there. So we would go to the sort of boundary of the oak.
So a lot of dog walkers use that footpath quite a lot. So is there still going to be a footpath through there?
Oh, yes, yes, yes. Yeah, in the same way that at the top end of the wilderness, we established a copse there about 25 years ago, and there's a path that the dog walkers use to go through that.
I suppose I'm just sort of thinking about, you know, the events, just whether that would kind of block any view going into the wilderness, or whether I don't know how the stables would feel about that, Randall. And do we need to consider asking the
we would need to do
farm?
That. Yeah, we would need to do that. I think we'd also need just to speak to the common right owners as well.
Yeah.
Common right holders, sorry. Yep. Sorry, Anne, you.
Just I like the idea of the copse, like trees, but I guess in an echo of Sharon's point, that it looks like it's kind of opposite Monarch Farm, and I know we've had issues in the past with farm machinery getting up and down the lane and so on. So it's really just to not create an issue if we do get the copse built, planted.
Sure. No, I think we need to speak to those.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, great.
I presume we took some trees down, didn't we? So I presume we've got the width that they need. Was it the 5 meters or something? And you were talking about managing, so presumably we can make sure that we don't have a height problem.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
yeah.
Yeah, we're fine. I mean, personally, I'm pleased because we do seem to spend a lot of money knocking down trees, and they blow down the wind. So I'm all in favour of planting new ones, because obviously some of these trees are huge, aren't they? And in fact, I seem to remember a long time ago, the oak tree you're talking about has got some disease, hasn't it? Was it chicken basket or something? Or
the chicken in the basket, it's called. Yes, yes. Chicken in the wood.
Yeah. But it seems to have lasted a long time. But presumably
it does, and it will tolerate that, and it'll get over it and grow on for another couple of 100 years.
Yes. Okay.
So we're okay. Kieran, did you stick your mitt up at one time?
Yeah, I just wanted to come back on the agricultural vehicle thing.
Yeah.
So we've been trying to encourage agricultural vehicles to use the road, not cut across on the other side of the Turkish Oak, and cut a new path across the green there. And to that end, we did take some trees down, and this copse would also help prevent that. So, the person who did it most was from Latterbury, and we have agreement with them that they wouldn't do it anymore if we took those trees down. So
that was your
outside of the bargain.
Indeed. Sharon, you wish to add?
Just one point, you know, we use that area for sports day and when people have picnics and things. So that kind of, if that's going to extend to the cricket, the edge of the cricket field, you know, in sports day, often there's families sort of sitting around that area with picnics. So I, for one,
no, it's way short of that.
Way short of that. Yeah. It's just in that little corner.
Oh, right, okay. Is there anywhere else we could put a copse? Is there anywhere else up the other end as you pass the football pitch?
Sure, there are other areas that we could consider. The Green Open Spaces group did look with a fairly broad brush to see other areas, and that's the one we came down in favour of, basically.
Okay. I just think, you know, it's the cricket pitch and that part of the green is so beautiful because you know, there's lots of open views, and I'm just concerned that putting a copse there, it, you know, for getting access to the wilderness or dog walkers, it might, you know, take away some of that openness and safety, really, because the last thing you want to be doing on a winter's night is walking through a dark copse, you know, if you're walking your dog around the wilderness. So I don't know, I probably wouldn't be in favour of it there, if I'm honest.
Okay. Fair comment, fair comment. Okay, so I'm looking really for, say, the principle of establishment at this stage.
Yeah, because there will be costs involved, won't there?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So Ian, I think we've had no hands up. So are we? I mean, the proposal is that we form a copse in the area there, as described by Ian. Can I have a vote? A seconder, please. That's a proposer. That's a proposal. Ian's obviously a second.
Yeah.
I've taken your far away here, haven't I, Ian? Sorry.
Yes.
Sorry. Just moving things on a bit. All in favour? Can we have a show of hands, please?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 8. Okay. And Sharon, are you abstaining or against?
No, I'm against. I'm not against a copse, but I just am against it being there.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah. Okay. So that's 8-1. Okay. Sorry, Ian.
Okay. Thank you.
But you're going to come back to the next meeting with more details.
Indeed. That's
Thank
the
you.
plan.
Yeah.
Village Hall car park. Now, just trying to think where we've got this within our bits and pieces. Oh yes, page 26 of the supporting documents. We met, there was the 4 of us, met at the Village Hall car park last Wednesday, and looked at the lie of the land there with the puddles that do form in that area. This was last treated, I think, 4 or 5 years ago, where the cost was about £750. And we were sort of exploring ways of doing it perhaps a little cheaper and perhaps a little better. And we came up with this suggestion of using a bag of MOT, which is a sub base which then can be packed down with a whacker plate, and then that leaves a fairly solid base to where those puddles are, and then we could put gravel over the top of that. So that's what we were looking at. I confess I've never had any dealings with MOT, so if you have questions about it, then I'm sure there's one of our number has the expertise to answer it.
You've gone quiet, Ian.
Sorry?
We couldn't hear you, Ian.
You couldn't hear me?
No.
We do now.
We heard most of it, just for reference. It was the last kind of sentence.
I beg your pardon. Right. I was just saying that I have no experience in using this material, MOT, but I believe that one of our number does have some experience of it. So if there are any questions, then perhaps he will be able to answer them.
So just very simply, where the potholes are, we pull the gravel back, and when we put this quite fine MOT in there, whack it down, makes a very hard base, and then we put another bag of gravel distributed over all the repairs, is a better word, I think.
Right. Yeah.
So we're locally repairing potholes.
Yes.
And it will hopefully then last another 3 or 4 years.
Sounds good.
So
We don't know what the cost is yet
No.
of the materials.
MOT is about 30 quid a ton plus VAT.
Yeah, it's going to be less than 100 quid all in, I think.
Very good.
How do you reckon, Kieran?
The only thing I'm not sure about is the hire of the whacker plate, but Rob's absolutely bang on for the cost of the MOT.
Almost like he's built a house recently.
Well,
So do we need to sort of, I suppose you kind of introduced the subject to us, and then maybe at the next meeting we'll get some more definitive prices to agree. Is that acceptable? Because we're not particularly urgent.
Yeah, that might be the best way.
Good to get done over the winter. Maybe while the village hall is closed, it might be we needn't worry too much about events going on. Is that
Okay, let's do
We're
that.
looking to hire a whacker plate or borrow one.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if we asked around, there may be people in the village who could lend a whacker plate or come and help, as volunteers.
Good point. Yeah, we could pursue that one. Okay, so we'll get definitive costs and come back to the next meeting, which brings us on to the last point there, 11.4. The village garden has had just a little bit of maintenance with a pair of shears, etc., over the last 20 years, but some of the shrubs in there are looking past their best. I met with John Carter, who looks after it for us, and discussed what we could and could not do there. And one of the things we came up with as a suggestion was to put some lavender in there to replace some of the ones that are in there currently. We've costed this. We did look at French lavender at one time, but it doesn't survive too well in heavier soils, which we've got there. So we've been advised that English lavender would be the way to go. And Peter at River Lane Nurseries is prepared to give us a small discount and do 10 plants for £85. So that's where I'm coming from. To proposal that we go out and sanction £85 to be spent on new lavender plants, which we put in there. Yes, Anne?
Just a quick question. Much though I love lavender, could we maybe have some evergreen shrubs in there? You're welcome to come and take some cuttings.
Yeah, I mean, there are certain evergreen items in there. There's a bit of box hedge, for example.
There are some flowering evergreen things.
Right. I mean, obviously what we have in there is shrubs that remain relatively small as well.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, we're not looking for big ones because of the nature of that area.
Okay.
Does that help, Heather? Sorry.
Lavender cuttings are really easy to take. Is it worthwhile buying one bush and then spending 3 months just getting them to root on?
Are we going to have much joy at this time of the year?
I've got a greenhouse.
Right.
Just an offer.
I mean, well, yes. I mean, the advice we've had is that autumn is the best time to plant them out. That's where we were coming from. We were told by Peter. He said October, November is the best 2 months to do it. So yes, that's where where I was coming from. Yes, Graham.
I presume we have, apart from John's monies, we spent little money on it over the years.
None.
And it is this lavender. Is it basically keeping the same sort of shape, ethos, and stuff of what's already there?
That's right.
You see a younger plant sort of tied it up, is it?
That's right. That's where we're coming from.
And again, are you looking for approval tonight or principle or?
it would be best if we did because of the planting timing that we've been advised.
Okay.
Yeah, River Lane are very good. Their plants are good.
Yeah, that's what we thought.
Just do it.
Yep. Thanks for the offer, Heather. That's perhaps one we can bear in mind because we're not going to be replacing them all at this stage. So there could be more to come. So that's the proposal. Do you need to word it, Graham?
No,
Oh, right.
I felt bad last time when I jumped in. So
Oh, I didn't feel as I've been trodden upon. So the proposal is that we do go ahead and purchase 10 lavender plants, which John will plant very soon. So seconder?
oh, loads of seconds. They
Oh,
don't.
there is. Yeah, Graham was seconding.
Yeah.
This could be a first. All those in favour, please. So that's 8.
I'm abstaining.
You're abstaining. Okay, thanks, Heather. Right, there we go. Thank you.
Thanks, Ian.
Are you done now? You done with it?
I am. Yes, you're back OC.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you much. Okay, now we're over the page now onto 112. This is Hilton Traffic Group to consider revised draft petition document and the approach to engaging key people. This is a bounce back, well, that's a strong word to use, from the last meeting where it was presented to us. We had a little chat and the majority vote said, please go and revise it and then bring it back to the next meeting. So it's been brought back and you've seen it in your supporting documents. So, Anne, far away.
Well, I tried to make it simpler, cut it down to 4 key pages with an appendix or appendices. Still addressing the same audience, but trying to make it a little bit snappier, I suppose. I need to just add that on the number 3 slide or page, I have actually added a couple of points to put on that particular page. That one is would be outlined in red about the pollution limits that are, in terms of acceptable air, noise, vibration, etc., have all been raised massively. So the same level of pollution may be unacceptable now that was acceptable back in 2000 when this TRO was put in. And we also know that COVID-19 hits people who are exposed to high pollution harder than perhaps others. So that's one point I've added. The second one is that one of the major opponents in our TRO application back in 2000 was Dairycrest, and they no longer exist in Fenstanton. So I've added those just to kind of make the point that life has changed quite a lot between 2000 and 2020. That's it.
Anybody else wish to comment? Peter?
I thought the idea was to go and come back with something simple. This is
simple compared
it's
to
not. It's atrocious. Sorry. It's just too busy.
I asked
far too busy.
I asked everybody for comments.
Yeah.
Not one person got back to me, so it's a wee bit late, isn't it?
Well, it's not sent yet, is it? Are we trying to have these people on board with us at Cambridgeshire County Council, or are we trying to turn them against us? Because if you send this to them, they will turn against Hilton. We're trying to encourage them to work with us to sort out traffic problems.
So what do you suggest?
We've got a system that's going through at the moment. Follow that system. Don't go trying to wind people up.
The whole point of this, Peter, is the difference between what is going through the system at the moment. Each of them is about a specific initiative. What we're trying to do here is paint the broad picture to show where the whole thing adds up.
But this is just going to antagonize and turn people against Hilton.
Why?
Because it's so busy.
Yeah, I must admit, I thought one of the comments we had was that it would be shorter.
Yeah,
so
it is shorter.
It's 10 pages long.
I appreciate that it might be 4 pages with some annexes, but I'm just putting myself in the position of the guy or lady who receives this. I mean, you've suggested it gets sent to a lot of people.
Yep.
I always have a worry about sending things to more than one person because they always assume that someone else is dealing with it. So I think you have to be sort of almost send it to one person in the hope
the whole point of this, well, the one person might be, you know, the guy who runs Cambridgeshire County Council. The whole point of this is that there are so many departments, individuals and levels, each involved in different facets of actions that affect the traffic levels and hence pollution levels in Hilton, that the reason for sending to many is to, and to make them all aware that all of them are being sent to, is to say, hey, you folk, you're all doing something that's affecting our lives. And what we'd really like is for you to pull together to see this bigger picture and take some action that does address what's happening here.
Okay. I'm going to just bring in Nicola here. The information that we've gained from CCC at the moment, are we getting anywhere, or do we feel that we're getting closer to finding out how CCC works?
No, Ian Bates has said that they don't release their staffing hierarchies for data protection purposes.
Okay, but I mean, the people that we've dealt with, we know more or less where they are, or we are no further on, basically.
We could probably make an educated guess as to which directorate they fall into.
But we haven't really got the information we needed.
No.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else wish to? Also, Sharon, did you?
Can I just say, I think Anne's put a huge amount of work into this, and I think we all need to be sort of mindful that this is, you know, this is all trying to help sort out this issue. So I just, you know, I'd like to say, you know, thank you to Anne for doing this huge amount of work. So, you know, I think we have to be respectful of each other's, you know, strengths, and that this is well, you know, I think personally that if it is, you know, if somebody was receiving this that is you know, worth their salt, they would take the time to read through it from, you know, the county council or any other professional.
Thank you, Sharon.
Kieran, your hand was up, yeah?
Yeah. So I think what you're trying to do, Anne, is right. I think it is right, but I don't think this is the document to do it. I think the way we left it at the last meeting was that we wanted something a lot more concise and something which would have a very simple message, whatever that, however that's going to be produced. A 10-page document like this, I just don't think it's going to capture the people's attention that we want to try and do. You know, to get them on our side and to help us. So I mean, I think you know, I agree with what Sharon has said. I think this is, you've got to admire the fact you've done it and that you want to bring this attention, this issue to a wide attention. But it's, I think it looks like you're very, very frustrated and you're really trying to sort of download it onto people. And I don't know whether that's going to make friends. So I don't know whether can we boil this down and condense it into a 1 or 2 page document, which has perhaps got a sort of a high graphic integrity, so it actually looks like it's in properly, you know, like all the typefaces are the same size, that kind of thing, you know, titles are the same size, just to make it look like it's a considered and yeah, words, sorry.
And the one thought I did have was to just have a sort of informal, offline, friendly chat, as it were, with Ian Bates, and with this document, and say, look, this is stuff that's been pulled together. What do you suggest?
Sorry, Heather.
I agree with what Kieran said. Anne's put a huge amount of work into all of this, for which we're incredibly grateful. I also agree that it's not going to land particularly well in its current format. So can I suggest, I'm quite happy to work with Anne, sorry I didn't reply earlier on, to get it concisely down to 2 pages that represents all of the feeling within here to present back.
I'll also offer my help to put it into a nice graphic presentation.
I think what you basically want is a short document at the beginning, and all this information is tucked away in the background, so that when you do get the bite from whoever the key person is at CCC, you can then have this chat. Robert,
you're talking about the key person, Graham. I still feel strongly that all the players need to hear the same message.
Okay.
But thank you for the offers of help.
Okay. Now, Laura and Rob, are you happy to sort of hear what's been going on? Any particular comments? No. Okay. Right. Well, especially it's 2 pages. Really, are we? There's a offer of reducing it down to say 2 pages. I'm also concerned about who we send it to. I don't know whether we have a feeling about whether we do send it to all and sundry, or whether we target 1 or 2 people. Laura.
I think the purpose or the benefit of sending it to multiple people is within our communications, we've dealt with various people. We don't really know who's talking to who and who's making the decisions about the various things. And I think that's the problem. And I think providing them with all the information of all the different bits of things that we've done to date with the various different departments is to sort of show them, each separate silo within CCC, what everyone else is doing and what everyone else has done to date. So I don't think it'd be beneficial to send it to one person unless we know that there's an overarching person that is taking responsibility, because at the moment there isn't. We just keep going one thing's with one thing's with someone else. So I think all those people need to know all the other bits, because we're not certain that is going on outside of what we're communicating, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. I don't know if we know when the LHI 21-22 bid will be decided. I don't know whether this will help or hinder that application. I mean, we submitted it.
There's in February with a view to having it done for March, but with COVID, they think it could be delayed.
Okay. I mean, I don't know how we all think, but I'm getting the impression that that we're looking for a more concise document. A suggestion was down to 2 pages with some different graphics. Would that be okay if we had that presented to a future meeting? Would that get majority approval? Are you questioning or seconding?
I just want to add something, or ask a question really. Do you think this document would have more weight if it was actually an introduction for a petition? So we actually got some signatures from the village. I know, just something to give it a bit more.
I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's quite a brave step, isn't it?
Well, I think if we just asked everybody in the village, do you want the local authority to do something about our road problem? I think you'd probably get pretty good reactions.
Yeah.
And even if it's just 500-600 signatures, that carries quite a bit of weight politically.
Particularly if it's done before the LHI is decided.
Yes, quite.
But after the current lockdown.
What I'm really suggesting is that we don't just fire a document in, created out of frustration and in haste, that we actually use it for something properly. Now, petition is just the first thing popped into my head, but if there are other ways we can do this, something that has a little bit more heft.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, with it being a petition, it would need to be a pretty simple sentence at the top of the page, wouldn't it?
Well, I'm not sure how simple it needs to be. There's some bright people in Hilton. So I think we could certainly word it.
You could do an online petition.
Yeah, Survey Monkey or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
That would include a lot of parishioners.
I think
Yeah,
the
but
other
if-
thing as well,
Can I suggest that we go away and get it down to a reasonable document, and that the three of us discuss how it's going to be done, and then bring that proposal back next time?
Okay. Do we need to think about whether it is actually done as a petition? I think that
Ian was
probably,
going to say something there.
well, I was just saying, sorry, beg your pardon. To me, there are no objectives or aims within what we have currently. We're just stating the facts, stating the case as it stands at the moment. Whereas if we're actually asking a question and asking those individuals that we're writing to do something, I think that would help enormously.
yeah, I think, yes, it needs to be, I think it needs to be clear what the objective of this piece of paper is.
That's right. That's what I
You
mean.
know, as much information as you like later on, but
Yeah.
the first paragraph has to be clear as to what's happening.
What we're after.
Personally, but I mean that's down to the three volunteers. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
But I think also bear in mind that there isn't a particular hurry. If we're talking about the LHIs going in February at the earliest, maybe
Well,
it's good.
we don't have many meetings between now and then, do we?
No, we have February and we have December. But I say the timing of the submission needs to be quite good to line up with LHI. If it goes in too early, it'll be forgotten by the time the LHI goes in.
It wasn't originally designed to be alongside the latest LHI bid, so it doesn't have to be timed for that.
No, it wasn't. I appreciate it wasn't designed for that, but I'm wondering whether it gives a more homogeneous effect. So I'm sort of before the three of you go away and redesign it, I'm just trying to get an opinion, because it'd be awkward if you design it and then we come back and say actually we don't like this one either. I'm trying to get sort of a feeling from the council members here as to what we are looking for. Discuss. I mean,
can it not be something that we use in the ongoing, I don't know if this is really the purpose, but the ongoing discussions that Nicola's having with CCC to say, look, this is everything, this is, we're getting a bit confused as to what's going on with all these different sections and departments and LHIs, and this is what our status is and what's happened and what's going on. Just to almost explain to them I don't know if that helps. It's just with one person again, but.
And there's no harm in sharing it with our CCC contacts. In fact, that's in a sense part of what I'm proposing. I'm just proposing others will get sent it as well, with or without signatures from the rest of the village.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I suppose you're not. The document doesn't actually ask them to do anything, does it? So I mean, they're just reading it as a kind of background information, aren't they?
No.
No.
It's actually asking on page 6 that they look at the objectives of all these different initiatives and accept the size of the issue for us. Consider the road network changes, blah, 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 and then look at how, bring it all together, they can come up with a solution for Hilton. I'm happy to try to make that clearer, but it does actually say what we want.
Yeah.
Okay. I say I apologise. Page 6 was.
It does.
I think that's the key point, isn't it? You know, that those key messages need to be pulled out at the front, asking specifically what we want from people.
Yes.
I think the scattergun approach is okay as long as people understand what's expected of them. To your point earlier, Graham, you know, if you send to a lot of people, they'll just assume someone else is doing something. But I think we need to be clear on what we want.
Yeah.
What we expect people to do.
Yes.
But I think, you know, to Sharon's point, Anne's done a lot of the work on this, and
yeah, I mean,
thank you for it.
Yeah, sure. But I mean, the document isn't wasted. I mean, it's all key facts in there. It can be put into our traffic file for information as people ask for the information. It's just a question of we need something a bit more concise to go to.
No, I've accepted that, and we've got 3 people with their hands up to work on it. And then I'm happy to get clarity around the objectives and so on. There are 2 questions that I think still. One, sending it to the numbers of people that have been suggested. And secondly, the timing of making some progress on it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So trying to take it a step at a time, are we happy for the 3 volunteers to take this a stage further to incorporate the general chit chat that we've had? Is that adequate enough? Can I have a proposal? That's a proposal then that Heather and Kieran assist Anne to come up with a smaller document, a neater document. Can I have a proposal, a seconder for that, please? Anne seconding. All in favour? We're going to go with that one. Yep. Thank you much. We then need, as Anne says, to discuss the timing when we intend to get it out by. Personally, I would keep an eye on the LHI and aim for February, but I mean, if anyone wants it out before then.
I'd like it out before then, and I also want us to discuss Kieran's thought about actually making it into a petition and getting signatures from people in Hilton. Hang on.
Okay.
Could we bring it back to the meeting next month and add it to the agenda for December, so that then the 3 people will have had a chance to amend it, and then surely we can then look at sending it off in December, because, you know, over Christmas not much is going to happen, but at least if it's in before the February deadline.
I'm trying to sort of assist the 3 people who are writing it, so they know what would keep us happy.
Again?
Well, I mean, it's all about the 3 of you rewriting it, but I'm trying to come up with a consensus from the group, such that when you come back with it, we don't say, oh yes, actually we don't quite like that bit. So I'm trying to summarise all the comments that we've had, because to say, are we happy that it would be a petition in the true sense of the word, or the accepted sense of the word? So I propose that then. The proposal is that it is adapted to be a petition. This is a suggestion. Can I have a seconder for that one, please? No? Oh, Ian, seconding. Okay. All in favour that it's adapted to be a petition. Can we go for that one, please? We'll go for that. So it's 1. So we're all in favour that it is actually a petition. Okay, fair enough. I'm just trying to think. I think if we put a time limit on it, we could be in trouble. I mean, I think it does need to be out before February, but I don't know that we would have time to have it sent out any earlier than February, because it will come back in.
I mean, if we're going to get it another version for the December Parish Council meeting, then that can be sent to people in the village and Survey Monkey or whatever set up, and get the responses in January, and off we go.
Well, we'd have to have a meet. Well, yeah, okay. I mean, presumably, who we send it to wouldn't affect how the 3 of you construct it. Is that right? Heather, Kieran, Anne, would you write it differently if it was going to more than one person?
I think so, yeah. If it's going to be a document for general release, so you send it to targeted people who you think need to see it, but also it's something that the village can see, that you know, wherever it can make, it really should be designed to have the maximum effect on the maximum number of people, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
So the general thought is then it's going to go to a multitude of people.
Yeah, I just wonder, not to put you on the spot here, Peter, but you had quite a strong view on this. I wondered whether you could be happy to help us.
I'd be happy to help, yeah. I wouldn't agree with going to a scattergun approach of people, because Cambridge County Council have already told us at meetings at Shire Hall that once the A14 project is completed, they will do work on traffic through Hilton. So again, why are we antagonising them? But that's a different argument. I'm happy to help.
Well, maybe we just need to make sure that we don't antagonise. It's an information.
Yeah.
We need to be careful. So the way that you get the traffic ban is support of Cambridge County Council. It has to come with their support, so we have to bear that in mind. So yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, are we happy that we draw it to conclusion that the four of you, having listened to what we've said, come back with a new proposal, and I think that's the best we can get at the moment, hopefully for December meeting. But if you are having trouble, I don't think personally there's an issue in it coming in later. But can I have that as a and that's going to be my proposal, that the four of you come up with a revised version based on what you've heard. Can I have a seconder for that, please? No. Oh, I can. Ian, seconding. All in favour?
Right.
Yeah, fine. Good. Okay, then that's great. I think we've done that one good and proper. So it's nice. Thank you very much, Anne, for all that work. And hopefully we can sort of have a conclusion at December meeting. Something equally controversial. They want a ball. They want a Hilton ball on the green next summer.
Go for it.
Darren, fire away.
Sorry, I didn't declare an interest at the beginning of the meeting, but obviously I won't vote on this, but because I have got an interest being on the ball committee. I mean, who knows where we'll be next year, but as Feast Week are planning to go ahead as well, then we will plan to hold the summer ball, which has been delayed from this year. So it all depends whether there's a vaccine available by next year, really, doesn't it? So I don't know, we might have to create lots of bubbles and have less people, but obviously we will ensure to do the usual risk assessments and make sure the licenses are all in place, etc., before the ball, and send the parish council copies of all of those.
I should just ask you there, Sharon, is it a pecuniary interest or a non-pecuniary interest?
Non-pecuniary.
No, not.
I mean, there's no money involved for you.
Oh God, no.
you don't personally make any money out of the ball.
No, I probably lose money.
That's just the way you said you had an interest. I want to make sure that it was a non-pecuniary.
Oh, sorry. Well, I don't know whether I have to declare that as an interest. I just thought,
yeah, absolutely, yes. But it'd be non-pecuniary because you're not financially benefiting.
No, we're not paid in any way. This is all voluntary.
I mean, does anyone wish to discuss?
No.
Nope. Okay. Well, bearing in mind that we've had a ball on many occasions, based on what we've heard and what's happening next year, are we happy that we accept that the ball will go ahead in July next year?
Yeah, going to be optimistic.
I'm going to propose that we say yes.
Yep.
Can I have a seconder, please? Laura seconding. All in favour? We will show of hands. Kieran. Fine. Thank you much. And Sharon, you abstaining?
Yeah, I'll need to abstain, won't I?
Yeah, you ideally, yes, just to make sure.
Yeah.
Okay, happy with that, Nicola?
Yes.
Okay. Now we then move on to the Hilton newsletter. You've seen the proposed, right? Yeah. You've seen the proposed newsletter that Heather has drawn up. It's a question of whether you want such a newsletter to be produced and distributed.
Yes.
What do you think?
Good idea. Go for it. Send it out.
Laura?
Yeah, I think it's really good, Heather. My only thing looking at it was that Finstanton Parish Council put similar amount of detail into the Spectrum from their parish news things. So I don't know why we couldn't do it in that same way. There's a reason why.
Kieran, your hammer's up.
Yeah, I agree with what Laura says. We already have Spectrum. If it's going under the parish council title, then I can't really see why we would need a separate newsletter when we already have a couple of pages in Spectrum. If whoever proposes, I don't know who proposed it, but whoever wanted this, if they want to do a separate non-PC based newsletter, then fine. But I don't think we should repeat ourselves. Yeah.
Okay.
Although I do think we should add more detail like this to the Spectrum if we were doing it, because currently our Hilton information is very limited. And I think this is much, much better.
Yeah, I agree with that. So if there's more content, then that needs to be fed into Nicola, and but I think it does need to be parish council related topics rather than just general village stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that this is kind of different this year because previously we've had the annual parish meeting, and there's an annual people produce their reports and accounts, and we would normally have produced a parish council report in April, May, and other organisations within the village would also have produced theirs. So I mean that was abandoned, and so this was we should perhaps do it. And if we the point with this is if we are liable to get out of sync, because if this is taking us through to Christmas, depending on when we are back to our norm, we might not, we will be a bit out of sync with our annual report. Heather, you had your hand up.
Yes, I mean, it was my idea, and as you say, because we missed our good news event round about May time, I just feel as though within the village there's a sense that people don't really know what we do. They don't go to Spectrum at the moment to do that, partly because Fensanta's pages are so big. So just as an opportunity to say thank you and to build on some of the things that we've even heard tonight about it, I agree long term we should be using Spectrum much more much properly, so that it's much more upbeat, a bit like Fenstanton are doing. I have had an offer of somebody in the village to graphically design it for us, free for one-off. So it would be just the cost of the production. I just think there's a lot of things going on which are really good, and that to target Hilton specifically for that at this time would be a nice thing to do.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Sharon?
I think that's a great idea. Any way that we can reach out to the parishioners would be good. I mean, obviously there is limited space in Spectrum, so I think some of it is concise, but I agree Fensanton seem to have really massively changed their profile in the Spectrum, and it's a lot more informative. But I don't think there's any harm, particularly going into lockdown when people are a bit more isolated. I just think maybe, some information coming through their door about what the parish council stands for. We're going to be re-elected in May, aren't we? I just think it would be good. Oh, are we being re-elected? No. Oh, sorry. I just think it would be beneficial for the village as a whole to have a bit more information about the parish council and what's going on.
We could use the newsletter as an introduction to that information being in Spectrum from now on. So do both, but have on the local newsletter that you'll see in Spectrum this kind of information, and in future that's where you'll find
it. I think you're taking a leap here, because by having more information in Spectrum, you are using up someone's time, a lot more time, and we all discussed about extra monies. So I would. Well,
Heather's just demonstrated how members of the parish council can actually produce this stuff.
Yeah, but it also has to come from the clerk. It's not individuals. So you will be expending additional costs, even if it's being produced by someone. It will need to be verified by somebody. I mean, sorry, Rob.
I guess I see the pros and cons to this. I think it's a great concept of communication. I think if we look across the village, communications maybe become a bit fragmented over the years due to various things. There's a few communication streams now. We've got these minutes to go out. We've got these meetings that are very poorly attended from the parishioners, possibly because they're not the most succinct meetings in the world. And people don't necessarily have the time to support them. I assume that those who are interested, obviously we know that we have one keen parishioner who does attend and shares a lot of information on the community website. We've got the parish council website, we've got a Facebook page, we've got Spectrum. So, you know, there's quite a few different things. I worry that by just churning out more information and a scattergun approach, we're just going to just further dilute things and confuse people. We've got the Spectrum, it's a pretty good method of communication. You know, normally it goes out in kind of hard format and people see it and I think they read through it. I think you're right. I think it'd be good for people to get an update on what we're doing, but I think perhaps we need to be realistic back to the time front. You know, I think it's great, Heather, that you've kind of pulled this together, but I think we've got to think about the long term. Is it sustainable for someone to do that, and does it really represent the whole view of the parish council and get the messages that we need to get across?
Ian?
I'll just add that I was talking at lunchtime today with somebody who lives in Fenstanton, and what happened was that they had a focus group meeting about 18 months ago, concentrating on this very same subject that we're discussing now. And as a result of that focus group meeting, and he was one of the members of that, then they decided to up their Spectrum entry. And that's been very well received within Fenstanton.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that's where it came from.
So would it help if from what I'm hearing, people would like to see a more meaty Spectrum entry, yeah?
Yep.
More content.
So yeah, more content. So would it help if there were a small working group that pulled it together and gave it to Nicola so that she could put it into Spectrum, bearing in mind that the deadline date is the 14th of each month, isn't it? And then that would take away the need for an extra newsletter at a time when we haven't had an annual parish meeting. And it might get some more information in Spectrum. I don't know how people feel about that.
Yeah, I think that's a good compromise. It's, you know,
Good idea.
it's great.
Going to bring Nicola. Do you think that's workable? If you've got a,
Because that would take the pressure off Nicola doing putting that together as well.
She still had to go through it and check it that it was okay to go out. So I'm just, it's not.
Yeah, but
A lot less than writing it.
it is. If a small group of people, I mean, I used to do it for Feast Week every month, and it is a, you know, sometimes it's like, you know, putting it together at the last minute, and it, yeah, and it would just be something that the parish, you know, parish councillors could put together and then just be, you know, checked over for accuracy by Nicola. So it's a lot less time consuming for Nicola then.
The only caveat I would put on that is it depends on the format it's sent to me in. So yeah, we need to agree on a standard format.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
absolutely.
I'm going to spend twice as long reformatting it into one document.
You know, that's absolutely right as well. And there is a media working group that could take that thing on, couldn't it? Isn't there?
Yep,
and just for people who want to know, that's me, Kieran, Rob, and Sharon. Sorry, but that could be the route, couldn't it?
Well,
and we could try it. We could try it for 3 months. See how it goes.
3 out of the 4 of you have expressed interest. I know Rob hasn't been quite so enthused, but I mean, maybe
don't get me wrong. I'm not lacking enthusiasm. I just think whatever we do has got to be sustainable. I think something like that, which is a better entry into Spectrum, is a good approach. You know, I just you know we can.
The trouble with newsletters is they always start well, don't they? And then you get 3 newsletters, and then they stop.
That's my point.
I was only proposing 1 newsletter and then following it on with Spectrum.
Yeah.
Oh, right. I think actually, as this is Heather's idea, I think Heather should be involved, you know, on the media group. I'm quite happy for her to take my place. Because actually, I probably haven't got time to do it, I'm afraid.
So
Okay,
let's.
so the suggestion from Peter was it would just be for a 3-month trial.
Yeah, let's do that.
But we were going to send out one newsletter, and then what do you mean, a 3-month trial of improving Spectrum?
There was no proposal to send a newsletter.
We've got a restriction.
That's what Heather's proposal was.
Yeah, I'm just thinking that we have a restriction now on, we probably couldn't deliver it to doors anyway, because it might fall foul of various restrictions. And also we've got the cost. If we were to deliver a leaflet to all the houses in Hilton, there would be a cost. It would be expensive even in black and white. If you go for, and obviously some of those pictures don't particularly go well in black and white, you go to colour and you've got a significant cost. So whether we just take it onto a meteor information for Spectrum might be a compromise.
If it's a one-off, I can photocopy at work in colour.
Blimey, that's funny. It's just got no money. Are we talking of two? Was it 4 sides? Or was it 2 sides?
I think there's 2 things going on. I think we first of all need to decide if we want a one-off newsletter, yes or no, and then we need to decide whether we want a trial of 3 things in Spectrum, 3 months.
Okay. My proposal would well, let's take it as it's here. So the first item is to produce and distribute a newsletter to villages. That's the first item there. Does someone want to propose that one?
So my proposal is to deliver a one-off newsletter in the sort of format it's in at the moment, 4 sides.
In colour?
In colour.
That will affect the cost significantly.
Well, no, because Sharon will do it for free.
Are we happy that that's an option? I'm not happy that we use that option, but if we're aware that that's what the proposal is, then councillors need to be aware of that. So that's a proposal. Is a seconder for that one? Sharon seconding. All those in favour, can you raise your hands? 1, 2, 3. Is your hand up, Laura? You're just.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that's a 4. Against, can you raise your hands? That's 5. Okay. And any abstentions? So that's a 4, 5. Okay. So we won't be doing that one. So moving on to 4.2. So we don't need to do that one, but we ought to presumably 4.2 is null effectively now. 4.3 we can effectively say that we are going for a final content which would be Spectrum. Well, let's just rephrase that. Are we happy that instead of this we put a meteor monthly presentation into Spectrum that the media group will produce?
Yes.
For a trial of 3 months.
For a trial for 3 months, yes. Who's going to propose that one? Heather's producing that one. Okay.
Graham, sorry, could we not use Heather's content and put that into Spectrum as a?
Yeah.
Well, that kind of is
Quite.
logical.
That will then be an annual newsletter, won't you? I mean, I thought we were talking about monthly meetings.
I think well, my personal reason, part of my reason for not agreeing to the previous proposal was that it doesn't make sense to have a separate newsletter, as I said earlier. But I think to use the content and put it into the Spectrum, even if it's somewhat consolidated, if it needs to be, would be, in my opinion, more sensible.
Right.
Okay, so Peter,
we may not be able to put it all in one go because we have to be aware of how much space Spectrum would allow us to put in. Yeah, so we could split some of that up over the 3 months of entry that we put in. Yeah, so I think looking at
why don't we ask?
We need to find that out first of all, and then we can drip some of it in, and then you can put some more in the next month and some more in the next month, so that you spread the message. How about that, Heather? But we can have that discussion offline, can't we?
Let's just delegate that to the communications group.
Can I just say, rather than use the media group, which doesn't have Heather on it, why don't you set up a group specifically the people who want to and have time to produce content.
But
Yeah, okay.
I think they've got to know what they're producing.
Yes, I agree.
Well,
Are we producing
the final check is it's got to go through Nicola at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, but are we producing a newsletter for the year or 18 months, or are we producing an increased monthly report?
An increased monthly report, 3 months trial.
Yeah.
Okay, that's different from what we had in mind. Okay, so that's proposal that we. Well, Kieran, do you want to propose it?
But can I just say the increased monthly report, like the stuff that Heather's written, isn't about today's meeting for this month, but it is a really good summary of what's going on overall with the parish council. So I don't think it has to be a report from today's meeting. I think it just needs to be a report that summarises ongoing activities of the parish council.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, that's a proposal. So is you happy with that proposal, Kieran, that you've just proposed?
Well, I just proposed.
So we've got a Spectrum group to be created.
No.
Who's going to be the members?
Why not use the media group? I don't understand, Kieran, why you're
The media group doesn't include Heather.
But surely she could be co-opted onto it.
Or she could be co-opted onto a working group.
It is a working group.
It's very easy.
We don't need another group. Can't Heather just join the group? We change the groups, don't we? Like a little bit.
Normally in May, but I suppose we could change them earlier. I don't suppose.
Or you can just use my content. I don't have to be in the group.
Just invite Sharon onto Heather onto the media working group, and then
Yes, fine.
this will be done.
That's great.
Can't we just use Heather's content as a one-off?
Yeah.
Oh, come on, guys. Come on, it's late.
Well, hang on. Certainly you should use the content if it's applicable. But we want to. The point here is surely that we want to do something more. We want to have a system set up where we can add more content. And make it so not just as a one-off, or even we want to make. Do we not want to set something up that's going to run for a while?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So
I think it's a great idea. I think it's a great idea, but I just worried that we won't have time to do it.
That's also true, Rob.
Yes.
Which is
I
why
wonder, in the sake of time, whether we kind of do a proposal now to take Heather's content and put it in the Spectrum as a one-off, and then put it on next month's agenda when it isn't 10:30 at night to decide what we do moving forward. How's that as a proposal, Graham?
If you propose it, Rob, I'm happy to take it.
I'm happy to propose that.
just needs to be
Sorry.
checked through, though, doesn't it? Because there are bits in there that Heather's has put in there that need some more fact to them. Is that not correct?
I mean, Rob's proposing that we put that in as a one-off.
Yeah.
I'm going to propose that, and obviously the media group, the media group would revise it to go into Spectrum.
Yeah. Okay.
Rob, are you happy with that proposal?
Yes.
Sorry, can I just add also to co-opt Heather onto the media group?
Yeah.
Yes,
I'm
fine.
quite happy to stand down if that's too many people.
Okay. Can we have a seconder for Rob's proposal? Okay, so Laura,
Can I just clarify what Rob's proposal is, because I didn't get all the. I'm struggling to hear you, Rob.
Basically, we're going to use Heather's content to put into the Spectrum as a one-off, and then we'll put on the agenda next month to review what we want to do moving forward in terms of communications in the Spectrum and how we manage it.
Yeah, fine.
Yes, it's recording that. Fine. Okie dokes. So, is there a seconder? Laura, you have still have to second, Rob? Okay, so all in favour of that proposal? Can we show of hands? That's 8. Okay, and just yours truly against. Okay, so that's 8-1. Fine. Okay, thank you much. That's good. Right now, as it's gone half past. Oh, not quite half past. We can carry on. Right, time banking.
Sorry, Graham, can I just ask one question on that? Am I still writing my normal article for Spectrum as well as Heather's content?
Yes. Yes.
Sorry, I didn't answer that.
As long as it doesn't duplicate.
Yeah, because Heather's is an annual.
Yeah.
Now, having said that, the media group are going to have to get together to review it. So they might not get it in time for the 14th. let's be quite frank. They might not get it out in time for the 14th of. In fact, don't get it out for the 14th. Then it's not going to clash with what Nicola does. You okay with that?
No. But
You're not.
We'll get it done by the 14th.
yeah.
It will be in Spectrum.
Yeah.
You'll need to send it through with Nicola first of all.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Right. Discuss and decide upon the proposal that Hilton Parish Council sets up a time banking system followed from the model promoted by the County Council. This was a request or suggestion proposal from Heather following the recent conference.
So very briefly, I went to a conference. It was really good. Hemmingford have got time banking. The County Council are really keen for villages to do it and to give them rewards for volunteering. There is a subscription cost of £120 for the software, and they do a 50%. So we'd have to put 50% up and they would pay 50% if we were successful. Given the time frame at the moment, I'm just interested in knowing whether the council have got an appetite for having a time bank, and then I'll bring back to next month, a fuller proposal.
Can I just clarify there? It's Houghton and Witton, not Hemmingford.
Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this has been brought to council before, a little while ago. My own view is that I think it probably works better on bigger places. I like to think that as a smaller community, we know what each person needs, and you kind of volunteer to help your neighbour. And I think this kind of formalises and makes it a more complex system. And I would think that managing it will be a bit of a headache, but I don't know about anybody else.
I tend to agree.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Who is going to manage it?
Well, we'd have to. I mean, if the council's in basic approval, then I think we take it a step further and find a manager.
Or a volunteer to manage.
Yeah, who in turn presumably would bank their hours. Yeah. Oof. Peter.
I watched the video that was put out by that parish council, and I thought about what happened in Hilton when we went into the first lockdown, and all that stuff about community support happened in Hilton with volunteers not looking for reward by way of time banking. They did it because they wanted to help the community. We didn't make a song and dance about it in Hilton. We didn't make a video about it in Hilton. We got on and did it. And that was what I thought was so fantastic. And in the bit we put in Spectrum, there's a little bit about that. We might want to make that a little bit bigger to say thank you to all those people that did that because they wanted to help their community. We don't need a time banking system to do it. We did it.
Yeah, okay. Anybody else wish to comment or thoughts? Okay. Well, my proposal is that we don't have a time bank system. Can I have a seconder for that, please? Oh, Peter, yeah, okay. All in favour of not having a time bank system? Can you raise your hands, please? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is that right? 6. Okay. All in favour of a time bank? 1. Okay. Oh, 2. Okay. And Laura, you abstaining? Okay. Did you get that, Nicola? Okay. Now, okay. So with the time being 10:30, I would normally have to draw the meeting to a close. There are, I can, what's the word? Standing orders can come to an end.
Suspend.
Sorry?
Suspend is the word.
Suspend standing orders. Alternatively, we can carry on muddling through, but there are certain bits that I do have to get done. Otherwise, we will be in trouble. So I'm proposing that there are certain ones that we don't have tonight, which basically is a parish planning questionnaire. I think everything else, because that's going to be a long topic.
Yeah.
So I'm going to propose that is abandoned, also suspended for this meeting. So that's, can I have a seconder? A proposal is that we don't do 116. Seconding? Robbie, seconding?
Heather, second.
Yeah, okay. All in favour that for later meeting? Brilliant. Okay, thank you very much. Now, obviously, we now need to update 117, the bonfire service. that was quite clear, but now it seems to have gone into, obviously because of recent developments.
Sorry, Graham. I do need you to actually vote on suspending Standing Order 3X, please.
Because we've gone past 10:30.
You've gone past 10:30.
Okay, so we're suspending Standing Order 3X. Rob, I think you were keen to
Yep.
second. Okay, all in favour? But we will try and bring it in as soon as possible. Peter, you in favour? Brilliant, fine. Okay, thank you. That's good. So we're suspended and we're like in free fall now. Great. Okay. Yeah. So bonfire. Sharon, Rob.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts?
Well, we've had a discussion about it, and we are quite happy with to continue to go ahead with you know, the proviso that that we marshal it so that only, you know, limited people come in to the wilderness with their, because let's face it, a lot of people might sort of walk up and put their wheelbarrows and stuff on.
I think the only thing we need to consider, and this is what Sharon and I spoke about, is how's that perceived as by the parishioners? If you know the rules are slightly vague, and I guess they're not fully determined yet, are they? I think we know roughly what we are and aren't allowed to do, and technically we're in a lockdown, so we're not allowed to meet. I don't know whether dumping garden burnable waste is considered meeting or whether we can do it, but I'd be interested to get people's view on whether we think this is something we have kind of told people we're doing it. It's gone out in the communication, gone in.
Yeah, I was just going to say, in terms of dumping, the Bluntisham tip is still open, and they've said it will remain open. So to me, that's almost a license to go ahead. It's not.
Yeah.
So I think as long as we're comfortable that we're not going to be doing anything that's seen as inappropriate, and I think if we can perhaps put a note out to say in line with the government, the fact that tips are remaining open, we'll manage it in a certain way, and we'll limit people to only one person unloading and no contact with individuals, etc., etc. We can go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with that.
From the government website regarding the national restrictions, they state this means you must not leave or be outside of your home except for specific purposes. These include childcare or education, work purposes, exercise outdoors, medical concerns, shopping for basic necessities, or visit members of your support bubble, provide care for vulnerable people, or a volunteer.
So we think Bluntisham tip's staying open, do we? Against those rules, regs?
Yeah.
That means we can't do it, doesn't it?
But also, you know, in the last lockdown, people were allowed to go out for a walk once a day. So if you're, you know, if you're considering that, you know, that it's no different to people going out for a walk, because, you know, people are still going to be out and about, aren't they?
I think it is
getting exercise.
I think the difference there is that you're actually having a particular focus point, aren't you? You are going to a particular point. If you're walking, you can change direction and go anywhere you like. Whereas here we're actually saying be at this point at this time. And
that's why we'd already decided, you know, spoken about this and said we will marshal it at the gate and only allow sort of one person in at a time. I don't think we'll get a lot of people coming, actually, to be honest.
We're a government body. You can't break the law.
Just Google it. Every other looking at it, there's hundreds that are staying open of recycling centres. You're right, Kieran. We can't break the law, which is why I'm a bit dubious of why so many councils are choosing to keep their recycling centres open. If that is the case, I mean, if you just Google recycling centres open lockdown, Kent is, Norfolk is, Plymouth is, you know, Bluntisham is. I'd be surprised if they're all council-run places that are doing it if it's not allowed. I don't know. I guess whatever we do, we need to make a decision today, don't we? Because you know, we've told people.
The trouble is the government is saying a full list of business closures will be published and set out in law. Now, they haven't published that full set of business closures yet, and it hasn't been set down in law. Now, that could be issued on Wednesday, and our meeting's come and gone, because aren't they discussing it in Parliament on Wednesday?
I don't think that we can do it because as Nicola just read out, that's what the government papers say at the moment. Even if we do go ahead and we say, well, it's a walk down with your wheelbarrow, you can only have one member of the parish council there meeting one parishioner outside. It's just not safe to do that. So I don't think we should do it.
And also, I mean, I suppose is that we could do it in January, February.
Or December,
It
yeah.
just looks bad, doesn't it?
It does. I think you're right.
Yeah, it's non-essential travel, isn't it, really? It's not essential. I mean, I don't know if that's why tips are open, because getting rid of your rubbish is considered essential, but I don't think garden waste is really essential.
No, and the
Keep
green
it.
bin carry on. I mean, the thing is that we're going to put a note out. Well, sorry, if we agree with this, we'll put a note out. There will still be people that get to the bonfire, as they already have, because it started 2 weeks early. So I mean, there's a pile there now, including sheds and green waste. So people will get there, you know, illegally, effectively. So I mean, if we put a note out there to say no, I think we need to be acting in a responsible manner, personally, or not responsible, in a legal manner.
Well, we can't.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'd question the legality. Like I said, if every council-run tip has decided to stay open, I don't believe they'd do that if it was illegal, and I'm sure they're far better versed than we are on the laws around lockdown. But I do agree with the perception thing, and we could choose to postpone it based on that to December.
It sounds like we're saying no, let's postpone it.
Or just, yeah, till
Yeah, we could postpone it to December.
Well, who knows when it's
Say
over? I think
postpone it post-lockdown.
Yeah.
You made a very good point when we discussed this last time, that everyone does have a green bin and perhaps the need for it isn't there. Maybe this
Well,
is
we've told people we're doing it, so I don't think we can renege on that now.
Okay, so whether we just say it's, I mean, well, I'm getting a feeling that cancelling is the answer. Whether we cancel it or postpone it, I mean, we can effectively, well, okay.
We can post lockdown.
Yeah. Is that a general mumbling of approval? Save having 2 votes. Okay. So the proposal is that we postpone Saturday's bonfire until a safer time is evident. Kind of a seconder for that, please. Laura seconding that. All in favour? Postpone. Fine. Okay. And Sharon, are you with us, or you abstain? You're with us? Yeah. Okay. So that's 9. Thank you very much. And Nicola, if you wouldn't mind, notices out to that effect.
Yes, will do.
Thank you very much. Good. Okay.
Andy, can you share that on your website as well?
Rob, it comes through me. I think we'll take a vote on that, if you don't mind. Rob, I don't really like that's not good. Okay. So Rob,
tell the villagers what we're going to do, isn't it? So you give me the wording, I'll put it out.
Thank you.
Good.
The thing is, we are really short on time to let villagers know. So I agree with Rob. It needs to be, you know, out there very quickly, really, doesn't it?
okay, moving on. We have received a payment, 118. We've a payment received, still payment. Now then, the next chunk is all these payments due. Are you happy with all those? Anybody spotted a problem?
No.
Services, Ecrisy, Clark, Microsoft, Opus. What's Opus for? Oh, I think Zoom, Optimum, Nicola, Unity Trust, BWP. This is the website. The website I charge for. Actually, the website's quite good, isn't it? I've been on that quite a few times, and I'm happy with that. And then we've got toner and paper, John again, and the Silka registration. Gosh. Okay. So are we all happy that I'm going to propose that we sign those and get them paid? Have a second to those, please? No. Oh, Ian. Fine. Okay. All in favour of payments? Raise your hands. Brilliant. Okay. Thank you much. And then we get on to the nice one. Item 120. Councillor items. Anybody want to say anything? Sharon? No?
No.
Yes? No? Okay. Graham's next. No. Heather?
No, thank you.
Rob? No. Okay. Peter?
No, thank you.
Ian?
No, thank you.
Laura?
No, thank you.
You've all worn out, aren't you? Kieran?
Yes.
Anne?
No, I'll send in anything that comes to mind.
To who?
The clerk.
Oh, Okay, right, good. Yes, for next meeting. Excellent idea. Yes, okay. Well, thank you very much. And we'll see you all again in December, unless we have an urgent meeting before then. So that's brilliant.
Okay.
Thanks, then.
Thank you.
Well done.
Bye.
Bye.
You're shutting it down because
I've just pressed the button.